Hello, everybody. Broadcasting to you live from the Orion spiral arm of the Milky Way galaxy, the solar system, planet Earth, North America, the United States of America, somewhere in between two formerly tariffed nations. Potentially future tariffed nations. My name is Brian Engelman. This is the TNAM AM Show here on the New American Media because the old American media has failed you. I say it failed you, but it did exactly as it always intended to do. Deceive, control, manipulate, destroy. They hate you. They want you dumb. There's that classic quote. If you don't watch the news, you're uninformed. If you do watch the news, you're misinformed. And now people have turned off the propaganda. People have realized I'm being manipulated so I can be robbed, so I can be threatened, so I can be targeted, so I can be destroyed. It doesn't work anymore. It's astonishing that it ever did work. But I guess when you had a monopoly over the newspapers, I mean, if all the news is saying the same thing, that's got to be right, right? 50 million Elvis fans can't be wrong. Question of the day, what is that quote from? Type it in the comments. However you're watching, hit like, hit subscribe, please. I do appreciate all of your comments, and I try to read them into the show when appropriate, when possible. No guarantee that all comments could be incorporated into the show, but I consider this to be a conversation. It's less of a diatribe, less of a monologue, and it's a little bit more of a conversation. And that's what we try to bring you here on the TNAM AM Show. Subscribe, go ahead and join up with the New American Media. We were just kicked off Facebook again. They want some two-factor authentication thing again, and it's confusing, and I'm not doing it. They've done this to me several times, and they put me back on. But that's why it's important to follow the New American Media on all the platforms. The New American Media is on Rumble. Please hit subscribe. We are monetized there. Please support our content. Let the ads play. It's like tossing a penny in the wishing well. We're on YouTube with about 1,700 videos over the past 14 years. Hit subscribe. Hit the notification bell. Go back and look at some of our highest rated episodes, videos, interviews, live events. I mean, we've done music. We've done sports. We've done humor, we've done politics and current events, we've done all sorts of stuff. Link up with the New American Media there. We're like I said, Facebook and Instagram. Instagram, we try daily to give you a crawl. The stories that go through Instagram really define the type of content that we deliver to you on the TNAM AM Show and the Agree to Disagree Show. So follow us there. The New American Media is on Truth Social. Link up with us there. And our podcast, the Agree to Disagree Show podcast. That will include the TNAM AM shows and the Agree to Disagree shows. All right. Let's jump into the news. This is that little gargoyle, Chucky Schumer. You don't dislike this guy enough. No matter how much you dislike him, you don't dislike him enough. He is the physical embodiment of the deep state. Where's the volume? Hold on. There we go.
Is it the belief of the caucus that there is wasteful spending in government?
The question is about, isn't there wasteful spending in the government?
Do you agree with DOGE in that sense?
Of course there's some wasteful spending, but you don't use a meat axe and cut everything. We need to look at each program. We need to go through Congress and see what's wasteful and move to eliminate it, and what's very not wasteful, but
what's very not wasteful.
Very much needed. I'll give you one example.
What's very not wasteful? What's very much needed?
Huh? They went after community health centers in Medicaid. They're among the most efficient producers of health care we have, yet they tried to eliminate them. Makes no sense. They're just using a meat axe and cutting everything, including many things that American families need, want, and approve of.
So do you agree with Chuck Schumer or do you agree with Doge? Yeah, this is breaking. Elon Musk has said that our politicians are receiving kickbacks from Ukraine funding. I mean, we've been saying that for years, right? Debbie asked, why is there so much funding for Ukraine in the Senate's budget proposal? Kickbacks. One word answer. This is how you imagine. Oh, hold on. Oh, this is good. I love the chat overlay, but once I bring the chat overlay in, then I can't have the screen like this in it. So let me tear through these. This is how you imagined evil as a kid. Rah, hellfire and bats and demons and how it actually looks. Klaus Schwab, Bill Gates, Anthony Fauci, George Soros. This is from Jenny Mitchell 1.0. There's a Polish official here, fact checked by the People's Voice community here, Baxter Dimitri. Polish official says half of U.S. aid to Ukraine was stolen and laundered back to Democrats. So let's check out some of these accusations. Do you agree or disagree that these are verified and accurate? Pelosi's Ukraine corruption. Pelosi's son, Paul Pelosi Jr., was a board member of Viscoil, an executive at its related company, NRG Lab, which did energy business in Ukraine, according to the Federalist Papers. John Kerry's Ukraine corruption. John Kerry's stepson, Chris Heinz, with Hunter Biden, had an equity firm called Rosemont Capital and did executive deals with the same countries that Joe Biden and John Kerry negotiated with, according to the New York Post and Peter Schweitzer. Biden's Ukraine corruption. Biden's son, Hunter Biden, a former crack addict with no energy sector experience, was a board member of Ukrainian energy company Burisma and made $50,000 a month, according to the Federalist. Mitt Romney's Ukraine corruption. Mitt Romney's national security advisor, Joseph Koffer, black, former CIA agent, joined Burisma's board of directors while Hunter Biden was also serving on that board, according to the Federalist. In the comments, has any of this been debunked? Has any of this been confirmed? If so, what are we doing here? So, do you agree or disagree with this? It's quite insane to watch people who robbed us blind trying to justify being upset at us for catching them. Yeah, here's a reminder. Any member of government who violates the U.S. Constitution is supposed to be removed from government, not warned, not voted out, arrested and removed. Would you like to raise your hand? Do you agree with this? I am sick of all the evidence against Democrats and no handcuffs. By the way, Kash Patel may or may not be approved today, confirmed today. Maybe tomorrow. They invoked cloture, and that's 30 hours. So I think we're on the verge of getting Kash Patel. Maybe we'll start to see indictments of the actual guilty parties. We, the people, want arrests, and we want our money back. Oh, that was a race against time. Oh, forgive me. No, when you get the sneezes, you sneeze when you sneeze, right? Oh, boy. Yeah, got a bit of a... Robin, how are you? Robin McBride. Robin caught my guest appearance on Toxically Masculine Tuesday the other day with Mike Barra and Steve Darn and Blake Wally. Mike is a co-host of mine on Strictly Football, part of the Unhappy Hour, TNAM Sports, the New American Media. We intend to do a show for free agency and the draft. We did 23 episodes this season. It was a lot of fun getting to talk sports. I'm used to talking about the Cleveland Browns, very Cleveland Browns centric, but this one we broke down what happened last week, what we're learning with the transactions, and it was more of a full NFL show, which was great. It broadened my focus this season. So yeah, season 2 coming soon. We're trying to figure out when the end of season 1 is. Is it after the Super Bowl? That's the end of season 1. So now is it season 2, episode 1? Or do you get through free agency and the draft, and then it's episode 1? Or do you get through training camp, and then week 1 is episode 1? I'm trying to figure out, when would you say season 1 ends for a football season? Right after the Super Bowl? or some other time. Robin, though, she joined us during that show. Actually, were you with us yesterday or 2 days ago? Always happy to have you. I like your reading your comments. She says, funny, none of the Democrats ever deny any of their money laundering or other corrupt activities, and that tells me a lot. Yeah. Sure does, doesn't it? All right, let's get back to this. Once again, these are all the stories that you will see on the New American Media Instagram page. So sign up, like our page, do whatever you got to do. And yeah, CBS has a Delta Airlines CEO, Ed Bastian, reacting to the Toronto plane crash and talking about the investigation. We're still trying to figure out what happened. How did that plane land upside down?
Administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you, and do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
The cuts do not affect us, Gail. I've been in close communication with the Secretary of Transportation. I understand that the cuts at this time are something that are raising questions, but the reality is there's over 50,000 people that work at the FAA, and the cuts, I understand, were 300 people, and they were in non-critical safety functions. The Trump administration has committed to investing deeply in terms of improving the overall technologies that are used in the air traffic control systems and modernizing the skies. They've committed to hiring additional controllers and investigators and safety investigators. So no, I'm not concerned with that at all.
No, the Trump administration recently fired many employees of the FAA administration. Do those cuts worry you, and do you think that impacts the safety? I know you just said it's the safest way to travel, but after looking at all these mishaps, a lot of people are very nervous. Do these cuts affect you?
Okay, I think my biggest problem with Instagram, though, it repeats the video segment. And I'm like, hold on, this was the beginning of the segment, right? And I'm trying to think about the next segment. I don't remember how the segment started, and I'm kind of gearing up for the next segment. That would be my only request from, well, not my only request, but a request, a suggestion to Instagram. Give us the ticker so that we can grab and drag and we can see, is this a 20-second clip or a 2-minute clip? Yeah, look, I'm going to get to this when we scroll the X feed for the New American Media. By the way, I didn't mention that. That's one of our most important sites. It's at American_media_. Also, patreon.com/the New American Media if anybody wanted to contribute, or Venmo at Brian Engelman. I will get to that, because if you look at monthly airline mishaps or crashes, however you want to define that, the numbers are down, but they're not showing you that. Have I met Mishap? Mishap is my homeroom teacher. Hello, Kenneth. Hello, Robin. Good to have all of you here. So yeah, we'll get to this, but Donald Trump just showed up. They're inheriting a system of air traffic. And by the way, that was a Canadian flight. The United States doesn't have jurisdiction over a Canadian flight. You know that. We all know that. I know that. You know that. The American people know that. Another question of the day. Who was I just imitating right there? I know that. You know that. Anyway. I'm Bob Dole. I haven't listened to a Bob Dole impression in years. I just remember Norm Macdonald doing it. You got to hold the pen. Here's my prop. It's a pen. Yeah. Right now, the Trump administration has the benefit of Elon Musk, who's like, I want to work for the government for free. I want to have a say in fixing things. He builds things. He creates things. He fixes things. He innovates. This is exactly the type of American ingenuity. What am I trying to say? Ingenuity, the quality of being clever, original, and inventive. Ingenuity. All right, Kenneth knew I was doing Bob Dole. I'm Bob Dole. Yeah, like a grumpy old man. You have Elon Musk working for free for the federal government. Let's use it. Elon uses GPS satellites all over the globe. He already has extra secret, top secret clearance, beyond top secret clearance. He goes back and forth to the space stations. He bores to the center of the earth. Lord knows the tunnels they're building over there. Tunnels are necessary. Tunnels can be creepy, though. They're looking at innovating, renovating, and upgrading all of the systems that are antiquated. Federal, what is it, Aviation Administration? Federal Aviation Administration. I'm like, Federal Airline? No, Aviation Administration. They're saying the FAA is using some antiquated technology, some bad systems. You know, if you're making a mistake, there should be like flashing red lights with clear directives. Do this immediately. If you're not having that, I mean, you've seen some really unfortunate crashes. That helicopter going down, taking out a commercial pilot, commercial flight over the Potomac. That was completely avoidable. That was terrible. So let's make this better. But Democrats have nothing to hang their hat on. Anything to get Trump, anything to make Trump look bad, anything to make Elon's bad now. Why is Elon bad? Because he's helping Trump. Yeah, you guys took us on the wrong path for 30 years. We voted you out. Sit down, shut up. Don't want to hear it. Don't ever want to hear from your party ever again. Democrats, deuces. Deuces. James Woods here says, watching Democrats flailing around like extras in The Walking Dead is priceless. Being deprived of their ability to lie, cheat, stuff the ballot box, take freebies and kickbacks, and be all-around grifters that they are, it's absolutely broken them. They've lost their minds. That feels right to me.
Well,
here's Scott Jennings from the Media Research Center here showing this, talking about just the absurdity of President Trump having to battle in court to do the job that he was elected to do.
first of all, it's a good decision. It's amazing to me that Donald Trump has to go to court to fight off attempts to keep the duly elected president and his appointees from having access to the federal government. I mean, this is, after all, the people that we elected to run the country, and they have to go into court and fight to run the country. I mean, it sounds crazy. So I think it was the only decision she could make, because it's patently ridiculous when Democrat attorneys general go to partisan judges, or any judges for that matter, and try to stop the duly elected government from operating. That's number one. Number two, this effort is nothing more than an attempt to control the federal bureaucracy and restore some political oversight to the federal government. That is all they are trying to do. So ultimately, I think people are happy with it, and I think they're finding some things that need to be uncovered. And the more that they're transparent about that, and the more they put that information out to the American people, the more popular it's going to become. How can you make any other decision than the one that she made? He's the president. These are his appointees going into the federal agencies that they were elected to run. So what does it matter what he said is a matter of a political statement before, as long as the result here is they get to run the federal government just like the people asked for? Well, first of all, it's a good decision. It's amazing to me.
So I agree with what Scott was saying there. And all these efforts, look, whatever you got to do to fast track and block this stuff, make a determination and get on with the matter of governing, I'm all about it. Faster the better. Let's go. We are in such wacky shape. We have been so corrupted and rotted from the inside out with all the power and control and influence. This country could be pretty badass if we got rid of the bad actors. And the Democrats, 95% of them, they're on the wrong team. They don't like us. They're not helping us. They're not doing things that benefit the American people. They've been voted out. Sit down, shut up, and let's expose the corruption in our voting system, in the media, in education. Because if people had an accurate understanding of what game the Democrats have been running, trust me, along with plenty of rhinos, Republicans in name only, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, Mitt Romney, Adam Kinzinger, Liz Cheney. These people are terrible. You lump those rhinos in completely with the Democrats, the dirty, deep state, divisive Democrats. Lump them in. The MAGA movement that had to take over the Republican Party, that's the movement that this country needs. That's what is encouraging and inspiring other nations to get their act together, because the Obama doctrine has been used there to destroy their countries. This is a global battle against globalists, the New World Order, the people that hate you. They want to loot and plunder. They are little bugs feasting on the carcass of what used to be all of these sovereign countries. Get them off, remove them all, destroy them all, shatter the Democrat Party to 1,000 pieces and scatter it to the wind. They have lost the consent of the governed. And really, Kash Patel coming in charge of the FBI. You got Pam Bondi. When are the indictments going to start for all of the treasonous activities that they've been running for 20 years, pushing the Obama doctrine with George Soros and like Hillary Clinton? There's 100 players, but we're just going to call it the Obama doctrine because he had 8 of the last 16 years. Face it, Joe Biden, he was an Obama puppet for 4 more years. So 12 of the last 16. And you got to say all 16 because Obama sabotaged, set up, framed, spied upon, and entrapped Donald Trump in a coup effort to remove the duly elected president of the United States. Obama is, I can't say he's the root of the problem. I can't say he's the cause of it because it's bigger than him. But he is the figurehead that must be indicted. He must answer for all of the treasonous activities that he's created. This was one of the main questions of the day. Some of the things that we were talking about on today's show, along with, we'll get to DOGE's $5,000 refund. Well, how do you feel about that? By the way, in the comments, another question of the day. How do you feel about the $5,000 proposed refund check? Is that super exciting? Like, hey, you go out and get some savings, and the American people are going to get $5,000 back. Like, hey, I'd rather have money in my pocket than have it going to anti-American agencies that hate us. They're trying to destroy us. I mean, that feels good, right? But then again, it's like, well, you're cutting because we have $36 trillion in debt. You need to slash the budget to pay down the debt. Use it to pay down the debt. So that's a question of the day. Leave your comment. How do you feel about that? Are you supportive of that? Would you rather see it go to fighting debt? Do you have additional thoughts? But type it as a full sentence, please. And once again, this is actually, you can leave your comments after the show. When it's live, it's fun because I can play tennis with those ideas. You hit me an idea and I'll hit it back. But yeah, in the comments section, after the fact on Rumble, YouTube, X, wherever the Truth Social, wherever you're finding the New American Media, let the conversation continue. So we'll get to that story in a moment here. But one of the topics of today's program, well, actually, that's weird. I need to change something here that I just noticed. Sorry, let me real quick. I got to change this on. Here we go. Rumble. So the name of yesterday's show was that Elon wants to die on Mars? Question mark. Now the name of today's show is $5,000 DOGE refund checks? Question mark. Cash confirmation? Question mark. Dictator Zelensky. Dictator Zelensky. Asking how you'd feel about a $5,000 refund check. Kent says $5,000 will be fund, refund, be fund. You gonna buy that blonde that you had your eye on? Okay, a blonde ale, I assume you're talking about. Going to your local microbrewery. What is the best microbrewery in Florida? Kenneth, do you drink beer? What if you sit down and have a beverage? What do you typically? Are you a big drinker, a light drinker, a never drinker? Anyway, but part of the topic, the main topics of today's program is about Vladimir Zelensky. Is he a dictator? Well, here is Leader Thune being asked. Here's a C-SPAN clip on Breaking 911.
You have long supported Ukraine, aid to Ukraine. Are you at all concerned about the president's rhetoric blaming Ukraine for starting the war and calling for elections in Ukraine, which is what Vladimir Putin is calling for?
I think what I'm in support of is a peaceful outcome and result in Ukraine. And I think right now the administration, the president, and his team are working to achieve that. And I think right now you got to give them some space. honestly. This is something, this war has ground on now for 3 years. There's been a lot of cost, a lot of death, a lot of injury associated with it, and I think it's in everybody's best interest, Ukraine, Russia, Europe, the United States, if they can bring about a peaceful conclusion to the war. And so that's what this is about right now, and I think most of us want to support their efforts as they move in that direction and hopefully to a successful outcome.
Call him a dictator. Call him a dictator.
Would you call Ukrainian President Zelensky a dictator as President Trump has?
Well, I like I said, the president speaks for himself. What I want to see is a peaceful result, a peaceful outcome. And I think right now there's a negotiation going on, and let's see where that ultimately leads. Hopefully it'll get to the outcome we all want to see.
Get on the same page.
There you go. They're trying to lock him in on the dictator comments. But what else do you call it? You suspend elections? You kill an American journalist, Gonzalo Lira, and brag. Anyway, we'll get to that topic a little later because there's a little bit more to unpack. Yeah, you ban elections. That is what dictators do. What is his approval rating over there? 4%, they're saying. All right, Kenneth doesn't really drink. He likes Delta 8. Gotcha. Yeah, I have a bar in my house, and I've really tried tamping it back. I've lived a life as a bartender for a hot minute. I've been in rock bands. I've been, I've lived that life. And it's probably better to really keep that stuff tamped down. Moderation, folks, moderation. So yeah, when our comment, well, we had two comments actually.
Get on the same page.
Comment that we put in the Instagram feed, it said, "Peace is the answer. Newland, Biden, Zelensky, Obama have swimming pools of blood on their hands for creating this mass humanitarian disaster. Shame on them all. Shame on the deep state. They pushed for this." In our comment here, as it scrolls across on the stories, we said, when you suspend elections with a 4% approval rating, what would you call it? What would you call it?
And I know.
Real America's Voice, Ben Berkwam here, talking about peace negotiations.
You're right there in CPAC, and there's a big week ahead. But, Ben, first of all, we know that President Trump has had a phone call with Russian President Putin, and peace negotiations have indeed begun. What can you tell us about that call and those talks thus far?
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. So we're here with Jack Posobiec. He was actually over there in Ukraine in that meeting with Zelensky. And, this really what this is the difference between a president from a position that comes from a position of strength versus what Joe Biden was. And I think it's even more than that. It wasn't that Joe Biden was even from a position of weakness. When we get to the bottom of this, we're watching what DOGE is doing, we're watching what Elon Musk is doing through DOGE, but when we get to the bottom of the corruption, the true corruption that's been going on in our country for decades, Joe Biden is just going to be a drop in the bucket.
So much corruption. Yeah, you know what? I think I have the video. I need to rip it and put it up online. I did have the opportunity to report from the Bronx rally when President Trump went there and spoke. And I did do a couple of live segments with Jack Posobiec. But yeah, Jack is apparently, I don't know how you'd call it, like a right-hand man of President Trump. Of course, he works with Steve Bannon very closely. Steve Bannon, a right-hand man of Trump. But Ben was just saying, and I didn't say hi to Ben this time around, but Ben and I were working alongside each other at the DC Gulag at the inauguration about a month ago. Talked to him in Chicago. He ripped the American flag burning away from some guys that were protesting at the DNC. But yeah, the fact that Jack Posobiec was in on that meeting. I mean, someone called him a worker bee, or they didn't say lackey, because lackey's kind of like a bad term, but it was like somebody very close, someone that actively works with President Trump. So the fact that he was in that meeting, I found very interesting. And, they're saying that it'll be a drop in the bucket when the Biden corruption is exposed. I mean, but really over the past 40 years, you're going to find some of the most corrupt transactions you could have ever imagined are coming from Biden. So this statement by Ben Bergquam here, it's right and it's wrong. Name me anybody more successful in doing what they do to grift and take 10% off the top and money launder and completely sell your soul and your country and millions of lives in Ukraine and Russia down the toilet just for a little bit of money. Complete traitorous activity. Nobody's done it better than Biden. And yes, I agree. It is just a drop in the bucket because this is so much bigger than Biden. The same system that shot Kennedy in 1963 is the same system that's overthrowing governments today, overthrew Trump in 2020. 2014, Victoria Nuland, Obama, Biden, Clinton, they're the one. Okay, Clinton. The Clintons do it. The Bidens do it. Look, the top 10, top 50 worst grifters, they are drops in the bucket, but collectively it's like, all right. You know, Scott Adams says this all the time on his show. I think it's a good show to check out. But you don't have to know the story. You just have to know the players involved in the story. It's almost like the most corrupt people will always give you the biggest lies almost every time. Almost without fail. It's really weird. Anyway, Ben continues.
His whole family, the crime family, what we found on his son Hunter Biden's laptop, all of that points to massive, massive corruption. And what happened in Ukraine, the amount of money, the billions of dollars that were sent to Ukraine are just a part of that corruption. And so President Trump is not messing around. And I think I think Vladimir Zelensky is getting a dose of reality. And
I think Zelensky is in deep trouble. I've said this before. I've been saying this since before all this latest escalation of rhetoric has occurred, before these latest rounds of peace deals. I've been saying, go back in the archives. I'd go find it, but I've been saying this is a super dangerous time for Zelensky. He's the deep state puppet that they installed when they threw a coup in 2014. They being the deep state, United States, Obama, Clinton, Kerry, you know, Secretary of Defense Victoria Nuland. I urge Zelensky to resign immediately, announce a new election, and just say, I've given everything I had with what I had at the time. This is say something. Talk about forces at play. Talk about puppets, talk about manipulation, talk about ulterior motives, talk about suffering, talk about reconciliation, talk about a path forward, and say, I've served my term and I'd like to put it up to the people. I'm going to effectively resign. You can write me in if you want. I'll even put my name on the ballot. I'm turning it over to the next generation. If you strongly believe that I'm the right voice for this nation, I would serve one more term. I did the best I could with what I had at the time. But if the will of the nation is to put some different voices forward to move forward and rebuild and find a new direction, then I support that. And I would welcome the opportunity to close this terrible chapter of my life. If there's a way you could be like if you could be something like that. I think there might be a way Zelensky could escape with his life. I don't know if it's even possible because he knows where all the money went, missing $100 billion. It's going to be way easier to just get rid of that guy than to answer all those questions. He's between a rock and a hard place. He really did this to himself. He made the mistake of trusting Democrats. Please don't ever trust Democrats and the deep state. Don't ever trust them. They don't care about you or your cause. Everything is bigger picture. Everyone is expendable. They will chew you up and spit you out. Never trust a Democrat. Oh, that's such a broad brush you're painting with. Well, look at what we've had to deal with over the past 30 years. Look at it. Tell me where they've been like on point. The party has completely lost its way during the Obama doctrine years, the past 20 years.
It's not going to end well ultimately for him or his country if he doesn't realize this war has to end. People are sick of it. The people of Ukraine are sick of it. The people of Russia are sick of it. It never should have happened to begin with. But ultimately, I think the root on all of this is corruption, both within their governments and our own government. And until that gets uncovered and disclosed, you know, we're going to be kind of fiddling around the edges. But that's the key to me, is getting to the root of the corruption, where all that money went, why it went there, and whose pockets it went back into in the United States.
Yeah, and I know that you're.
So things have been ratcheted up for sure. Here is Tucker Carlson talking with was this Jeffrey Stacks, explaining the history behind Ukraine joining NATO and how Russia views it. All right, how did we end up in this mess? And can we fix this so it doesn't pop up again?
Saw the new Secretary of Defense say
The United States does not believe that NATO membership for Ukraine is a realistic outcome of a negotiated settlement.
Where are we now?
In 1990, in unequivocal, clear as can be terms, the United States said to President Mikhail Gorbachev, NATO will not move 1 inch eastward. Clinton, being Clinton, started this project in 1994 to expand NATO forever, anywhere. Just keep moving east. Then in 2007, President Putin said, stop. You told us no expansion. You've now done 10 countries. Stop. I don't think our president, Donald Trump, would much like to see China and Russia building their military bases up from Central America. This was how the Russians saw this.
I'm saying that, there we go. The comment we posted, the deep state's fascination with beginning a war with Russia is pure madness. NATO's aggression has been catastrophic. It just has. I'm Team America. I don't care about any other country but America. What I do care about is that every country has the opportunity to be ruled by a nationalist, not a globalist. Globalists are parasites. They are maggots that will feast upon the carcass of your country and steal everything that's not bolted down. And eventually they'll unscrew the bolts and take those with them too. A nationalist gives a shit, wants safe communities, so you lock up the psychopaths. You generally make decisions that benefit the community. You know, my little role of being a condo owner, I didn't fully understand what a homeowners association was, but I knew that in California I couldn't afford a house. So I got a little condo, little crappy condo. And I served for 15 years. And my job was pretty basic. It's cutting off. I got to switch the aspect ratio here. And we didn't have money. So we had to raise the dues. Because for decades, we hadn't kept up with inflation. And what that meant was all of our buildings were deteriorating. Everything on the buildings was deteriorating. The paint was popped and peeled, and all the stucco was bubbled and paint peeling off all over the place. The fascia rotted away, dry rot, termites. Roofing needed redone. Gutters and downspouts failing, leaking in the middle. They've rusted through. Driveways with huge potholes and problems with the water supply. All the pipes were, about that big, copper pipes, but they've, over time, all the sediment had closed them off, so there was no water pressure because you couldn't pump the water through those lines. They had to be replaced. I mean, we had problem after problem. The laundry rooms were just disgusting places. So we raised our dues. We close to doubled our dues because they were well under market value. Like we could not operate. We were damn near bankrupt every month when I first came in. The landscaping had leaking pipes that were costing us huge amounts on our water bill. Browning out the grass so it looked like crap. The planter beds, all bricks were busted apart, and it didn't have anything green growing in these spaces. Everything was wrong when I got there. dead bushes, dead trees. And so we worked. We got a little bit of funding and we started painting buildings. We started fixing all of these things as much as we could. We couldn't do all of it at once. But what if we painted 5 buildings a year? In 5 years, we could do 25 buildings. That was strategic planning. Find a vendor that works. It's like, good. And now let's keep a relationship with them. You don't get the cheapest vendor. We saw people in the neighborhood. They got the cheapest vendor. They'd pocket a kickback and then they do a shit job and it would look okay because they'd come by and paint it real quick. It's like, hey, this looks great. It wouldn't even last a season before everything would start peeling off. By the end of 2 or 3 years after that crappy paint job, those buildings looked like garbage because 90% of a paint job is scraping away all of the places that the stucco in the paint is going to fail. You got to scrape it down to nothing. You got to rip all of those mesh screens that keep the breathing up in the eaves, right by the gutters at the roof line. People came by, did a quick spray paint job, and it blocked all of the mesh, so there's no airflow, causing problems on the roof, causing problems, all sort problems everywhere. Because a paint job wasn't a paint job. It was, we are scraping this thing apart. We're putting up new mesh. We're rebuilding the buildings. All the fascia, all the wood sticking out, and then the panels of wood coming across, and the different, different designs, but similar wood issues. I mean, how much of that wood was rotted, dry rotted, termite eaten? We had to tent all the buildings and treat them for termites. Had to close off all the vents underneath the building. This was a mammoth undertaking, and it was one of the things in my life. One of the things in my life that I'm most proud of. Pride is one of the 7 deadly sins, so we should tamp any pride. But I look back with fondness and satisfaction upon my efforts there. We hadn't been doing a lot of things. I mean, the bare minimum, the cheapest bare minimum was how we operated, and that changed. Something was a mesh. But yeah, strategic thinking is what you need for nations. You need a nationalist. Look, I can't care about surrounding communities. I need to care about my community. And that's what my homeowners association was. That was my country. And I'm going to volunteer to work, to bust my ass, to get some things done, to raise the level of the quality of life for everybody. We redid every one of our laundry rooms. Fresh paint, fresh floors. We put in storage boxes with lockers. I mean, we had a lot of elderly people, and they're like lugging those big, heavy jugs of detergent up and down stairs. It's a lot. So everybody got a cubby hole. Everybody had a nice folding table. Everything was just junk. It felt like you were in a penitentiary when you were there. And we turned that all around. Lord knows how they're going to keep it up. And if my time was truly appreciated, I eventually had some conflicts with the management company, one of the members of the management company. I think she had some sort of derangement syndrome. Honestly, I don't think she liked my politics, and I think she started targeting me for that. It's really the beginning of Trump derangement syndrome in 2017 when I started experiencing the weirdness. So I don't know how I'm viewed to this day, if anyone even thinks about me at all or recognizes the impact that I had in that neighborhood and the energy that I put in to keep it better lit and safer, expanding security patrol hours as necessary, and all of those things. But look, the point of all that is to say, like, that's what a nationalist does. A nationalist says, I live here. I care about here. I'm going to fix here. And every priority decision that I make is going to be based on here. The globalists do not. They want a global Green New Deal scam to money launder and steal billions and reroute them and send them to their NGOs so they can get boots on the streets, organizing and getting angry and threatening people that get in their way. It's all mafia tactics. It's the Al Sharpton, who's the other? Jesse Jackson, divisive racial stuff that Obama really doubled down on. But it's so much bigger than that. It's so much bigger than that. I care about America. I do care about other countries. I care if Germany is going to have the right to put the AfD party in there to secure their borders and kick out the people that have been dumped into their country. This isn't a mass humanitarian casualty event. This is a designed plan, the Obama doctrine, to flood nations with non-residents. Because the path forward for the United States is the path forward for Germany. It's the path forward for Ukraine. It's the path forward for Brazil and El Salvador, and pick your favorite place. George Soros, George Global, of course. Yeah, no one person has done all this in a vacuum. This has been a creep from the same creeps that killed Kennedy in the 60s. And probably the same creeps that put in the Federal Reserve private banking cartel. A bank creates our own money and loans it back to us with interest. Man, we ought to run you out of town on a rail. Come in here and threaten us. Are you kidding me? Are you serious? You want to print our money as a nation and then loan it back to us as a courtesy, accumulating interest? Creating the income tax as a weaponized arm to attack us? We're not your debt slaves. We're not your cattle. We have one unique moment in time right now to get some of this stuff right. And it's right now. If you're not on board the Trump train, I strongly encourage you to give it a shot. Because the Democrats have been lying to you, manipulating you, stealing from you, and destroying this nation for a long time, and so have the rhinos. Ditch that zero and get with a hero. Question of the day. What is that quote from? All right, let's hear this. Piers Morgan. Who's he talking to here? This guy. What's this guy's name? He doesn't have his name on the screen. Scrolling, don't see his name, but listen to how this panel discussion goes.
Like Donald Trump, but he is still the president, not Elon Musk. Why is Elon Musk, an unelected South African billionaire, addressing the press in the Oval Office as his kid?
Because Donald Trump lets him.
Nose.
Because President Trump lets him. Because Trump is secure. Because he's secure in his position.
That's Dan Crenshaw. I don't recall this guy's name.
Trump knows that he could get rid of Elon Musk right now, and his supporters would still back him. And I think that's true.
Also, Elon Musk, I don't know why you just referred to him as a South African. He's actually an American citizen, and it actually counts, even if you're not born in the United States and you become an.
Yeah, it was a bit bigoted of you there, Vijay, I thought.
As anybody. And also, the Democratic Party uses billionaires for all sorts of things all the time. Who do you think
It says Wajat Ali. I don't know who that guy is. I don't like him already.
shepherded the United States through the 2008 financial crisis for President Obama? He had a whole row of billionaires, many of whom had donated huge amounts to the Democratic Party in his campaign to try and help the United States get out of the financial crisis. And lo and behold, they ended up helping the Wall Street barons who caused it, because that's who had Obama's ear. It's not like only Trump.
So it's okay when Trump does it with Musk.
The only thing that Elon Musk can do, as Dan said, is whatever Trump empowers him to do, just like cabinet secretaries, just like the entire executive branch, which is unelected, but relies on the executive branch, the elected president, to do to fulfill the authority he gives them.
Right, and Vijay, can I just ask you, Vijay, you've slammed Elon Musk repeatedly as a South African immigrant, and yet right behind you in our camera view of where you are is your book, Go Back to Where You Came From. Would you like to apologize for your smear of an American citizen?
It was factual. He is a South African American immigrant, and I think it's interesting that.
Yeah. By the way, that's not what you said. This is a swarmy dude. Don't like him at all.
Do you accept him as an American citizen? Do you?
Oh yeah. Of course,
great.
South African American.
You keep calling him South African immigrant as if somehow that's a stick to beat him with.
You know, I'm proud. I'm a proud son of immigrants. But I was making a point.
You don't want him to go back to South Africa.
Republicans.
Yeah. So, you know, they have Elon derangement syndrome now. Is it just me, or does almost every video of Vladimir Putin look like it's CGI? something seems off, like the size of his head, the body. It almost looks like I'm just looking at CGI. This is from Freedom Convoy Europe. Am I going to have to read the... I might have to read this.
А вот что мы сейчас видели в ходе этой...
It says all European leaders, Putin, all European leaders directly interfered in the U.S. election campaign against Trump, even to the point of insults.
Но все европейские лидеры, все без исключения, фактически напрямую вмешивались в избирательный процесс в США. Дело дошло до прямых оскорблений одного из кандидатов. Но я вообще, честно говоря, удивлен.
So he's honestly surprised by the restraint. But something looks, I don't know, like these videos of him, they look digital, they look pixelated. It looks like a video game. It doesn't look like it's really him. I don't know how else to describe it. It doesn't pass the eye test. This isn't the first time I've seen a Vladimir Putin video, and I'm like, is that him? Is this CGI? Is this an actor? Is it something seems off? I can't quite identify what I'm seeing or not seeing that's giving me that thought, but does anyone else get that feeling? This one here from Gentry Gevers. Here's the new Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, saying there's absolutely waste and fraud. There's a high probability of fraud in the U.S. Treasury. This is after discovering the Treasury didn't have to reconcile receipts and they lost track of $4.7 trillion of payments.
When I came in, we all think there's waste, there's abuse. I think there may be some real fraud here, Brett. When I came in, we all think there's waste, there's abuse. I think there may be some real fraud here, Brett.
Talking to Brett Baer, I suppose. And yeah, this Treasury mess has to be intentional. Intentional fraud. Right? There's our comment. How could it be anything but? Everybody reconciles everything unless you're trying to pull a scam. This is Real America's Voice. I don't know who this is, but they're talking about J.D. Vance being right about the situation in Germany.
During this election campaign right now, I had a panel discussion at a school, and I got asked by a student about my conviction for sedition. And yeah, what I didn't know was that the State Security Service was in the audience and secretly recording my statement. And then they reported it to the public prosecutor's office to initiate an investigation against me again, just because I told the student why I got convicted in the past. So yeah, that's the situation in Germany. J.D. Vance is all the way right.
I mean, I hope everyone understands Germany is not a free society, does not embrace freedom of speech, which brings us to the immediate election this Sunday. You are a member of the AfD party, which has come under major sanctions and major investigations by your own government. What is happening this Sunday, and what are the stakes of your upcoming election?
Yes, that's right. I think there is a lack of political will from the other parties to really initiate political change, because the perpetrators are not deported. They do not even receive harsh punishments. Instead, authorities are dealing with prosecution of opinion crimes and alleged hate speech. So it's really ridiculous. And they are also trying to ban and persecute us as AfD, as the largest opposition to the prevailing politics and the second strongest political force in the country, we have to say. So millions.
And by the way, that's a video of all these women like saying, hey, they're doing a dance, do the AfD. Some rather attractive German ladies, and they don't feel safe in their country. Their country's been invaded by non-Germans. They don't like it. If people in small doses want to come in and go through the process of learning the language, assimilating, agreeing to the freedoms and values that the country supports, and becoming productive members that stay out of trouble over a little bit of time, and you can vet them and just keep them on the radar and then go through the process of becoming a proud German citizen. All right, that's one thing. But dumping millions of people that don't give a shit about your country into your, that's suicide. That's madness. In the attacks on German residents from foreigners, from invaders, has gone through the roof. Nobody can sustain that. Nobody should tolerate that. It's an act of war. It is the Obama doctrine.
Of voters support our positions, and I'm really curious for the election results on Sunday. During this election campaign right now.
So, I mean, it's going to be what, Sunday? Very interested to see how that goes. Hey, here's a look. They just found it wasn't Colombian gang. It wasn't Venezuelan. Chilean gang that has been targeting Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce and other people. That you saw Joe Burrow was targeted when he was on the road and they robbed his house. Just here's a flashback back to when the FBI was actually solving crimes and not weaponizing the department against American citizens. But yeah, here, check this out. Just in context, this is from Untold Sports.
Hey, did someone take my jersey? I put it in my bag. I absolutely 100% put it in my bag. Do you have any update on where the jersey is?
Well, I don't yet. No, I didn't. The jersey.
But they're stealing memorabilia from these athletes. And look, where there's a crime ring, it needs to be stopped. That's it. Oh, those poor millionaires. Stop it. No. You don't get to, oh, boo-hoo. They live in the Palisades. Who gives a shit that their house burned down? They're rich. Don't do that. Don't be those people. Don't be like those Democrats, those dirty, divisive communists, the socialists, the Marxists, the weirdos, the greedy. Oh, they're not paying their fair share. How much theft is fair? Why is it not greedy to take from somebody who has for your lazy benefit? Why? So just, as you see things like they're in California, screw them. I lived in California. I know a bunch of awesome people in California. They're not all wackos. And if you fix the voting system, I don't think they're going to be voting Democrat the way that you've seen. I think they've rigged the system. They've gamed the system. They figured out how to get all the votes that they need in the areas that they need to be permanently in power. That can be undone. Remove the voter machines, remove the illegal aliens from the voter rolls, force voter ID. There are things that can happen to get that state back on track. So anyway, I'm just saying, don't hate millionaires. Don't hate successful people. We all should strive to be successful and envision a world where pretty soon we're going to be in a tax bracket that we can go, wow, we made it. This is incredible. This feels so different. This is great. Don't be jealous or envious. Anyway, but I'm bringing this up because Joe Burrow, they just arrested a group of people on the freeway for a traffic stop, and they found that they had just burgled Joe Burrow's home, and they were targeting the Chiefs players. Like this is happening a lot, and where you have monsters like this roaming as predators, go out and get the predators, whatever it takes. Stop the predatory behavior. By the way, that's why the president has just now declared all these cartels operating at the southern United States and beyond into Mexico as terrorist organizations, because they are. They're terrorizing the United States. They're a thorn in our side. They're passing fentanyl through. They're killing so many innocent, nonviolent people that are just like trying to get high off of something. But their supply has been poisoned. Fentanyl kills you. It is pure poison. If you touch fentanyl and you're involved in that line of traffic, I mean, you're a murderer. You're a killer. Oh, no, they brought a bag of marijuana across the border. Oh, did they? What do they do? Sit in their home and enjoy it? Keep to themselves and not cause problems for the community? Oh, no. Our priorities in that drug war have been completely off kilter for a long time, but now they're targeting the terrorists. So anyway, let's target the terrorists that are targeting the athletes.
Yeah, I put it in my bag and then I came out and it was.
Maybe it's not the terrorists, but these are organized gangs. And what do you call organized gangs if you're not going to call them terrorists? I mean, all right, I will stand by that.
Wasn't there anymore. I really wanted that jersey. I remember vividly having my black bag sitting in my locker and stuffing it down into my bag. I went to the bathroom. I saw Jimmy and I saw Jacoby, and we actually took a picture together.
Jacoby Brissett.
Inside of like the bathroom. So when I went back out into the locker room, well, sure enough, I looked in my bag and there was no jersey.
What Tom Brady didn't realize was that the person who stole his jersey might have been closer to him than he thought.
Ah, there he is, right there, an executive in the locker room. Wow. You got a rooster, or you got a coyote in the hen house?
He posed with Tom Brady for a selfie just minutes before stealing his jersey. This wasn't his first time taking pictures with Tom either.
In that video, you can see at one point he actually takes a selfie with Tom Brady.
The man identified on video was Martin Ortega, a Mexican journalist who had access to Super Bowl events as a media member.
Oh, now we are still talking about south of the border theft rings.
Martin was caught on the stadium video cameras walking into the locker room with Coach Belichick trying to blend in. At one point, he even looked directly at the camera. After leaving the locker room, Martin was seen with a plastic bag under his arm, which was Tom's jersey. Not only had Martin been to Super Bowl 51, but he had been at previous Super Bowls, oftentimes taking pictures with players or randomly ending up on TV just wandering the field.
I mean, look, sports fans want some memorabilia. You shouldn't be stealing.
And this wasn't Martin's first time stealing valuable items from players after the game. It was discovered that he stole Tom Brady's other Super Bowl jersey from Super Bowl 49 when they played against the Seahawks. And he stole Von Miller's helmet from Super Bowl 50.
He took a helmet. Yeah, this guy's been creeping for a long time.
We received a call after the federal police went to the house. They said they were successful in not only recovering Super.
Yeah, if you didn't just get that. Okay. So they pointed out 2 or 3 or 4 things. How many did he have in total?
51 jersey, but also Super Bowl 49, and that they had an additional recovery of Von Miller's Super Bowl 50.
How do you get a helmet out?
Helmet.
That's wild. These are the things our FBI should be working on, not targeting the American citizens. And unfortunately, during the Obama doctrine, nobody liked his policies. So he weaponized the departments of injustice to go after conservatives, libertarians, and constitutionalists. Ron Paul here saying, if Americans knew the real story of foreign aid and how it has deformed recipient economies, aided repressive regimes, and even contributed to violent strife, they would oppose it even more strongly than they already do. I'm just going to say amen button. Point to some nations where foreign aid has helped. All we had to do is listen to Ron Paul a million years ago, and we would have been in a much better position than we are now. Here we are. Here's Trump and Elon saving taxpayers billions of dollars. Meanwhile, here's the Democrats' reaction to saving billions of dollars.
You can't keep getting away with it. You can't keep getting away with it.
How dare they? Yeah, I'll just say that. How dare they? I like leaving comments on the Instagram feed. It's a little, it's a way to draw traffic back to your group, back to your page, allegedly. Disclosed TV here. This is coming from Real Toria Brooke. Okay, yeah. I mean, this is from, what was this, yesterday? Trump will be signing an executive order designed to terminate any and all federal taxpayer benefits going to illegal alien invaders, according to Fox. All right. Now, did that come through yet? I'll leave that as a comment. Has this formally occurred yet? What is the name of the executive order? See, once again, our show is a conversation. I'm literally asking the people that posted this, hey, where are we at in this? What's the update? Hoping that the people in the comment thread would know. Family Guy. No, it wasn't from Family Guy. But now I forget what I said. What was the quote that you guessed Family Guy on? Was that the drop the zero, get with the hero? Maybe that's what you were responding to. Okay, I will say this. That does sound like something Peter Griffin would say. But that would have been in the 90s or 2000s or shit, even currently, I guess. God, they've been on for a long time now. Remember, they were off the air and then people are like, this is a great show. Put them back on. And they came back on. Okay. That sounds like something I've seen in a Family Guy episode, but it goes back further than that. It's kind of like it's a line said by Vanilla Ice is what I was trying to reference there. Yeah, but really, I mean, honestly, when you watch videos of Vladimir Putin, doesn't it look like a Steve Madden ad? Like the head is too big for the body. almost like it's not him, but like he's wearing a prosthetic head. Like maybe it's not the real Vladimir Putin out there. Like, remember when you saw weird versions of Joe Biden? And you're like, dude, it looks like your neck is peeling off. Kamala had the same thing, and like the ear was peeling off. Oh, Quagmire said it? Drop the zero. Get with. All right. Giggity, giggity. All right. I really do like to mimic voices. I would like to. I don't know how you refine that craft, how you hone that skill, how you get better at it. Because I'd love to tighten up some of these impressions. All right. Giggity, giggity. Okay, so yeah, maybe Quagmire did say that. You're right. Whatever segment we just watched there about the Tom Brady thing, that's the sponsor for that. The advertising sponsor needs to be Jersey Mike. Jersey Mike's. Yeah, is he Putin one over on us? Is it really the Vlad? I don't know. Something feels off about those videos. I can't quite define it. Kimberly Guilfoyle shared this from Rapid Response 47. It says, in America, we hold a presidential election every 4 years, even during wartime. We held an election during the Civil War. We held an election during World War II. Before President Zelensky decides to lecture the American president again, he should hold an election too. And then Zelensky is on very thin ice. He really is. He's lashing out at this is not going to end well for Zelensky. Once again, not a threat. I'm just saying. It feels kind of weird.
Chris started the video.
I will play this. This is Chris Pavlovsky being introduced here at the White House. I don't know what you call it, the press room, by our new press secretary, talking about how important it is that you get alternate options to Facebook, Instagram, Meta, Google, YouTube, and Twitter, Truth Social. You have to have other platforms. And he kind of explains why they got into doing Rumble when they did. Rumble, look, we make the most money anywhere on Rumble. It's pennies a day. Like we're not where we were. We were making we were starting to make real money on Google before they targeted us and silenced us. We were making regular commission checks. They weren't hiding our content. Millions of views, 6,500 subscribers. And then they decided that they didn't want our voices to be heard. They wanted only deep state sources. They called it authoritative sources. We were not allowed to talk about topics of the day. Oh, but NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox were allowed to. They wanted the advertising dollars funneled to those people. They didn't like that our hundreds of thousands of views were taking away eyeballs from the deep state, who's going to lie to you and twist every single story to fit every single narrative. What did Ned Flanders say in his moment of crisis, his theological crisis, calling out to God? Idly ho. Says, I even do the things you ask me to do, even the things that contradict the other things. I do all the things that you ask me to do, even the things that contradict the other things. And for what? I think it was when his house burned down, or it was tornado or Hurricane Nettie. They lost it in a hurricane. That's what it was. Anyway, here's a clip about the importance of Rumble and new media to this White House and really to humankind. If you allow Twitter to be run by the deep state, if you allow YouTube to be run by Google deep state, if you allow Meta, Instagram, Facebook to be run by the deep state, you have no voice, you have no country, you have no hope, you have no future, you have no life, you have no success, you have no freedom of speech, you have no civil liberties, you have nothing. You have nothing that it means to be a human if you let the deep state run all of these. Rumble under this Pavlovsky guy, X under Elon Musk, Truth Social under Trump. These are the platforms we need to keep the media honest, to keep asking the right questions, and to stop lying to us every damn day.
Sharing platform Rumble in 2013 with a mission of protecting a free and open internet from censorship by big tech and governments around the globe. The platform has always been a place for independent creators to share their authentic opinions, and they have always included President Trump, in contrast to the way he was censored by other platforms in years past. Since its founding, Rumble has grown exponentially, recently marking 67 million monthly active users. It's a lot of users. If you're watching right now and interested in sitting in this seat, you can apply, whitehouse.gov/new media. With that, I will take your questions. And Chris, why don't you kick us off on this very busy news day?
Carolyn, thank you very much to you and President Trump. It's an honor to be sitting here in the new media seat for the White House press briefing and to be able to demonstrate why freedom of expression is so important. Rumble was the victim of censorship at the hands of multiple foreign governments. It's clear there are still many countries who oppose free speech and even target American companies. Can you describe what the administration will do to protect U.S. interests and values worldwide?
Sure. Well, thanks for the very important question. And I think that free speech and ending censorship, both here at home and also abroad, is an important part of President Trump's agenda. I think first, President Trump has led by example on this front as the leader of the free world, the president of the United States, with his show of access and transparency on a daily basis. The president takes questions from all of you almost every single day and really reveals what he's thinking and feeling, and I think that serves as a great example to the rest of the world. As for tangible actions that the president has signed, he did sign an executive order, I believe on day one, certainly within the first week of this administration, to restore free speech and stop government-sponsored censorship here at home. And the EO made it very clear that federal employees are not allowed to engage in any activity that would infringe upon the American people's right of free expression. So I think the president has led quite strongly on this. And I would just add, this is part of the reason we have a new media seat, to invite new voices into this room. Again, we're going to need to expand this room because so many people are interested, and we're very excited about that. It's a privilege to cover this White House, but we want all voices to be heard. Chris started the video sharing platform Rumble.
There, it started over. I really wish we could have the option to stop the segment when it's done playing. I don't want to hear it a second time. All right, I was typing it, but I'll just tell Kenneth. He said the way to do those voices is record it in practice. I know, and I just said I don't like listening to myself. I'm in my head listening to I listen to my thoughts, and they probably show up in my own voice. And then I do hours of broadcasting every day. And it's kind of like the last thing I want to do is listen to myself more. But I know it is the way. Like, that's how you can hone it. And I could, like, I did I didn't share it with a lot of people, but you saw my you heard my Biden impression, my Elon impression, my Lindsey Graham impression, my Mitch McConnell impression, my Trump impression. Lindsey Graham. Heavens to Murgatroyd. And look, at the end of the day, because by the way, for the people that don't understand what I'm talking about here without the context, I have begun performing stand-up comedy, and I'm on week 3 now. So I've decided if something makes me laugh, if something is funny to me, then I think it's going to be funny to somebody else. If something is good in my estimation, if, when making decisions, like with the HOA, it's like, well, it sounds like it would be, to me, it feels like it would be a good idea if we fix some of these broken lights that are so dim, it's inviting criminal activity behind our buildings. It seems like if that's a good idea to me, that would be a good idea for the community. And it was. Seems to me as if looking around at these dilapidated buildings, maybe we'd have more confidence and we'd have more pride. I know pride being a 7 deadly sin. But, pride in my community, pride in my building. I would feel better about me and my life if my building felt fresh and new and clean and cared for. Therefore, I'd like to paint one building. And if it goes well, paint another. Oh, the point I was making about painting, because that turned out to be such an in-depth process, selecting the right color palettes, the right schemes for the neighborhood, and how to repair all the drywall, or I'm sorry, the dry rot and the termite damage. Scraping 90% of what needed to happen on those. I think I didn't finish my thought. 90% of the work that needed to be done on those buildings was in prep. I mean, they scraped those buildings apart, ripped out all the wood, rebuilt the wood, had to prime it, had to paint it, had to give it a second coat. You had to knock all of that stucco off that was failing over the years, and all the moisture that was seeping up, wicking up from the ground, or being sprayed on the buildings by sprinklers because nobody was paying attention to that. It was like nothing was being paid attention to. When you did a paint job on these buildings, you were rebuilding the entire, it was like you were rebuilding the whole building. All the screens, all the mesh, all the vent screens or lids, whatever you call them, underneath the build. Like, they were built from scratch. 90% of the time that it took to paint a building, the painting was the easy part. Painting was the easiest part. The prep work took forever if you wanted your building to last. You want to get a 2 to 3 year lifespan out of a building? Have someone show up and just spray over the mess that's there. Do a gentle once over for a day or two and call it a day, and then just paint it. Yeah, that'll be fine for a season or two. But really doing it, you know, that's where the energy goes. It goes to the prep work. You know, people talk about becoming an overnight success. Incubus was like, hey, what's it like to be an overnight success? They're like, overnight success? We've been doing this for 15 years. So yeah, I guess it feels great to be a 15-year overnight success story. But look, the art, let me get back to comedy real quick. The art of comedy is something that it really is an art form. It really is a craft. And maybe 90% of the success there is going to be in the details of recording and re-listening to the product and trying to always improve it. You know, the final product is a result of all of the stuff behind the scenes that you don't see. Look at this. My 3 weeks of comedy sets have turned into 3 weeks of note cards. Some of the jokes I'm reusing, some of them I'm retiring. But I like it. I really like the process. I guess I'm a topical comedian, kind of doing a weekend update with Norm Macdonald type jokes. Very in the news things, not a lot of evergreen stuff. But I can do that stuff too, and I'll get to it. But anyway, Kenneth also asked if I heard back from the White House. No, I have not heard back from Caroline Leavitt in the White House yet. I hope to. Actually, I'm gonna put a comment there. The New American Media submitted to join the White House press room, and we look forward to our opportunity There we go. I'll just leave it at that. Dropping breadcrumbs. All right, there we go. This is shared from Muckraking Media. It says, yes, I did discuss this about illegal aliens. Asking for an update. Did that pass yet? Did that actually go through? Was it signed? Are we done? Miss Muckraker says, don't think we've forgotten the hell that the unvaccinated were put through. Justice needs to be served for the wrongs that were done. 100%. And that is one of the main thrusts of where I'm going to be asking the White House. I can give you a preview. You know, I kind of give you some of the previews of my jokes, and I give you some of the post views. You know, because comedians, they don't want their sets being recorded. We're still working things out. We don't have it figured out. It's not quite up to snuff. We're not headlining. We're just kind of doing open mic nights. And, you know, you don't want everything recorded, and you don't want it used against you, because comedy's supposed to be a place where you can just explore all the fringe elements of the weirdness. But I will give you, I will tell you this. If given the chance, when given the chance to attend a White House press room briefing, I will be raising the issue of how we were treated during this COVID pandemic in very specific ways. And if you've listened to this show, you kind of got a hunch of what I've got to say on the matter. So if you want a preview, oh yeah, at least one of the questions is going to be along those lines. Fear not. Miss Muckraker says, breaking key health figures in the Trump administration could suspend COVID mRNA vaccines for all age groups in America, claims the Daily Mail. This one here is from Daily Mail. It says, Yale scientists link COVID vaccines to alarming new syndrome causing distinct biological changes to the body. This is according to the Daily Mail. Experts from Yale University have discovered an alarming syndrome linked to the mRNA COVID vaccines. The previously unknown condition, dubbed post-vaccination syndrome, appears to cause brain fog, dizziness, tinnitus, and exercise intolerance. Some sufferers also show distinct biological changes, including differences in immune cells and the presence of coronavirus proteins in their blood years after taking the shot. The condition also appears to reawaken a dormant virus in the body called Epstein-Barr, which can cause flu-like symptoms, swollen lymph nodes, and nerve issues. Jeez. To elaborate on this a little bit more, the United States has declared the following as foreign terrorist organizations: Tren de Aragua, MS-13, Sinaloa Cartel, Jalisco New Generation Cartel, United Cartels, Gulf Cartel, Northeast Cartel, Michoacan family. White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt says, now you see the Democrat Party and the mainstream media. By the way, they're lying legacy media. Never say mainstream. Now you see the Democrat Party and the mainstream media spiraling out of control about a very simple promise: rooting out waste, fraud, and abuse from our federal bureaucracy. This is a promise that the president campaigned on. He's now delivering it. That's from Fox News. New York Governor Hochul says you will be saving 40% since the new toll will be $9 instead of $15. They're trying to add congestion pricing. They want to add insult. They want to add injury to insult. Congestion. They want you to pay for the roads that you already pay for with the tax dollars when you buy your car. You got to pay for a tax on your car. You got to pay for a registration tax. You got to pay for a gasoline tax. Every gallon that you put in there. Paying for it with your car insurance. Like everything you do is paying to be on the roads, and they want to charge you more to be on the roads. How about no? Trump just made it zero. That's according to End Wokeness. And they're fighting back against that. All right, yeah, fight back. You want to pay $15 to be on the road. Get out of here. Charlie Kirk suggesting now it's time for Elon and DOGE to audit the money that we sent to Ukraine. Elon says, okay. Yeah, but hold on. Let's make a comment. Now it's time to audit the presidential requirement process that the what are they called? The Electoral College apparently isn't even doing. And it's time to audit our elections tabulation systems. How about that? Yeah, audit where all that Ukraine money went. Absolutely. Oh, would you look at that? Where's the U.S. aid dollars going? According to Statista, U.S. international aid dispersed by the U.S. Agency for International Development, AID, USAID, fiscal year 2023. A little to South Sudan, Yemen, Nigeria, Syria, DRC, Somalia, Afghanistan, Jordan, Ethiopia. But 16 million of it going to Ukraine. Who's surprised? Yeah. Yeah. Nobody's surprised. Next. Here's Secretary Rubio talking about what we are trying to accomplish in peace negotiations in Ukraine.
Our number one job is to determine what is the best thing for America. We've learned over time, the more prosperous, the safer other countries are, the safer and more prosperous it makes us. President, in an act of extraordinary friendship, he has agreed to accept for deportation any illegal alien in the United States who is a criminal. This is the kind of development that you need to build a middle class. These are the kinds of jobs we want to be creating in the United States as well. No podemos tener una política que premia al que nos quieren hacer daño y ignora a los países que cooperan.
Not have a foreign policy that ignores those who cooperate us.
Tanto con nosotros.
Hold on. This is about Costa Rica stopping narcotics. Guatemala.
We wanted to come here today and finish our trip by showing you firsthand the kind of foreign aid that America wants to be involved in.
Guatemala recently seized supplies of fentanyl, precursor chemicals that, if manufactured into fentanyl, would have been enough to kill 1/3 of America's population. And yes, Scott Adams said, you know, people posing with blue barrels or something. It's like, it's a very easy way to prove, look what we did. But it's something you could easily stage, whether you're really doing it or not. I mean, it's something, but
I want to thank the business community here, who very firmly has said that this is an important part of bringing back their brothers.
Guatemala reaffirmed its commitment to accept removal flights of Guatemalans illegally entered into the United States.
Brothers and sisters, and reintegrating them into the economic hopes and dreams as a labor force for the future.
Yeah, Rubio really does want to be president. He's tried a couple of times. Secretary of State is usually where you go right before that happens. So I would definitely keep J.D. Vance and Donald Trump separated at all times. I'm not saying I distrust Marco Rubio, but I don't trust Marco Rubio.
On the cooperation that we have against drugs and some crime.
And maybe Rubio's great. Maybe he's going to be great. Maybe it's going to be great. Fine. Arm's length. This is probably a pretty good role for Rubio.
The Dominican Republic has yielded some extraordinary outcomes very recently. Historic numbers of seizures of drugs destined for the streets of the United States. Today, I'll sign a waiver of...
I'm just wondering if YouTube is going to smack me with a copyright complaint because this video from Secretary Rubio has this generic soaring orchestral music in the background, and it's going to claim that Inigo Montoya wrote this music, copyright something, something, and now your video is going to be banned in certain areas. They use these little tricks to limit the distribution of your content. They use them as tricks. They wouldn't do it to globalist, deep state propaganda. Oh, but they will if you're putting out libertarian, constitutionalist, conservative, Republican content.
Our programs, and we're going to look for opportunities to expand upon those programs.
Start with, okay, hold on. Let me see the beginning of this again. U.S. State Department. But did it start with negotiations? Maybe it didn't. Yeah, this is all about foreign. Guys, I thought that this one, well, anyway, look, we're out there, we're working. We're trying to make some stuff make sense. But I thought I shared one of Marco Rubio, and it was the State Department discussing about how we're negotiating a peace deal to end the war in Ukraine. That's what I thought I was playing right there. I thought it was, we were getting to that. I'm like, hold on a minute. Anyway, in response to Trump designate, seriously, I've been in meetings where I felt like there was derangement syndrome running rampant. And I've used this analogy before. If I said I'm looking forward to today's meeting, we're gonna have fantastic weather. I'll see you at 5. I would show up and everybody in the room would be shivering cold or have galoshes and an umbrella and a rain jacket. It is an instant knee-jerk reaction to oppose whatever is said when you have the derangement syndrome. Elon's bad. Why is Elon bad? Because Trump. Why is Trump bad? Because Trump. Because he's orange. Hitler. I don't know. He's Trump. He's evil. Okay, weird. Trump's like, hey, we're designating the cartels as terrorists. They are terrorists. They're terrorizing communities. We're just trying to live our lives and raise families and enjoy ourselves and try to be productive and useful and helpful and try to give back to the communities we reside. cartels and gangs. They mess with every innocent person. They lower the quality of life for everybody around them. They bring crime and abuse and theft and property damage and home invasions and violence and attacks on women and just all sorts of evil. So since Trump said it, here's the reaction. Trump said we're going to try to stop the evil people. She's like, oh, okay, I have an idea then.
You might be saved by like the most unexpected group of people. Do you know?
Saved. By the way, do you notice the crazy eyes?
Who Trump's trying to declare war on?
What was the air quotes for us, sweetheart? Why were you doing air quotes? Our comment from yesterday was siding with the cartel over American citizens is an odd flex. It's a little wordy, but it's kind of good.
The cartel. Oh, please do. Please do.
Please do. You work for the cartels? Is that what she's telling us? This lady? She sides with the criminal cartels, the terrorist cartels, that she's on their side.
Fuck around and find out, Trump. Oh, we might be saved by like the most unexpected group of people. Do you know who Trump's trying to declare war on?
Maybe we need to be saved by the same group of people that did your eyebrows.
On the cartel. Oh, please do. Please do. Fuck around and find out, Trump. Oh, we might be saved by like the most.
Look, that really sounds like a threat. All right, there we go. Sorry, I had to type that. I couldn't speak while I was doing it. After watching this again, this video really sounds like a treat. Doggone it. And you can't edit. Can you? Doggone it. Oh, I guess I can do this. Delete that. Okay, at least I could do that. Threat. Ugh. Okay, second suggestion for Instagram. Allow us to edit the comments. It is so frustrating. But we said, this video really sounds like a threat. Is she a member of the terrorist organization? But yeah.
We might be safe.
President Trump says something, she has to instantly take the opposing view. It is so ridiculous. And that's what Scott Jennings said. He said Trump is a master of finding the 80-20 issues. He finds obvious things like drinking straws and cutting corruption from our bloated spending. And the Democrats are forced to take the opposite opinion on issues that they're only 20% popular. These are 80-20 slam dunk issues. But the Democrats think, oh, we have to oppose everything Trump does. It's madness. It's lunacy. It's a mental illness. It's an illness. It really should be in the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM. Trump derangement syndrome. Trump says, hey, stop terrorizing our communities, trafficking our women, poisoning our families. And she's like, oh, F around and find out. We might be saved by the least likely. Saved? True mental disorder. This is from Scottsdale Mint. A little bit of background info. We've been hearing this rumor as well about Fort Knox and gold reserves.
A lot of people say the gold's not there. And what happens when the audit shows that there is no gold there? And while that's quite the possibility, I don't think Trump likes to fail at pretty much anything, and either does Elon. And I'm going with firsthand experience here, firsthand knowledge. They have been flying gold into the United States out of Europe and mainly London. I know this for a fact. On almost every flight starting before Christmas. These flights, typically a passenger flight, spread the gold out, roughly 4 tons of gold. I'll let you guys do the math, roughly 32,000 ounces per pallet. They'll spread that out across the cargo. If the plane is full, as most of it was leading up to Christmas because of holiday travel, they could only get 2 tons. So if almost every single flight is that much gold coming in. And I know this firsthand from all the armed carriers. Guys, I work with these companies. I know them. In fact, one of them is going to be leasing space for me in my new facility in Wyoming, and handling gold coming in from both Europe for clients coming in and out. So I know this firsthand. So this amount of gold has been coming here. A lot of us, including myself, started noticing the exchange for physical premium that the banks were allowing, given a pro.
So that video cuts off. The original videos on YouTube in the comments section. But yeah, it's really weird. Now, this person's saying JP Morgan just bought back all their gold a few weeks ago too. They're having flights, this, that, and the other. I don't know. Bring it back. It's worth $3,000 an ounce right now. I mean, is there enough there to pay off all the national debt in one fell swoop? Snap your fingers, and then pass some sort of legislation that says you can't get paid, you can't get benefits in Congress unless you pass a balanced budget. Put safeguards in place so that you can never do this again. Get cryptocurrency as a national whatever. And really, why couldn't you have American computers stationed across the country? Maybe you have some renewable energy sources doing cryptocurrency mining to build up a national strategic reserve of cryptocurrency that you keep on hand and everybody has an instant access to, and you can't raid it. You can't steal it. God, we are on the verge of some really interesting stuff right now. You did not notice her eyes. Yeah. When you hear crazy shit, look at the eyes. When I did my Mitch McConnell, I went, well, the reports about me being an ageless vampire drinking blood are preposterous. You got to go big crazy eyes. That's what Mitch McConnell impersonated. It's kind of hard to talk. The reports that I'm a blood drinking vampire ageless and timeless. That's preposterous. Preposterous. All right, so yeah, this Fort Knox story is wild. It keeps evolving. Why would Trump and Elon be discussing it so much if they didn't know something was awry? This one here, you got people saying Trump and Musk have got to go. No, we already had our vote. We're good. No, we got to go faster, actually.
Unbelievable. Our next guest calls it the Democratic cult that he was once a part of, the executive director of Black Lives Matter, Inc., Mark Fisher. Mark, good morning, brother. Thanks so much for joining the program. So the last... Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say good morning to you and the whole Fox and Friends crew, Lawrence.
Thank you, brother. So the last election, you saw black voters, you saw Latino voters, you saw young people either stay at home or vote for Donald Trump and reject this agenda. So why are the Democrats out there singing in the streets, doubling down on the same message?
Democrats are desperate. I would say it's the closest thing to a national cult that we have.
It is a cult. It really is a cult. They are desperate, and they're about to be completely destroyed.
And when you are overwhelmingly beat with a mandate and swept across all branches of government, you basically have nothing else. And that's the playbook, is just protest Trump. But I believe Americans are tired of protests now. Yeah. And the Democrats offer nothing but protests. So, they just need to, just lick their wounds and give Donald Trump and his administration a chance to do what the people voted him in to do.
Agreed.
So, Mark, as someone that used to be a Democrat myself, you used to be a Democrat, I'm sure there's some folks in the audience wondering why you decided to change. What was it within the party and the movement that you said, okay, I can't take this anymore?
I think that the Democrats are experts at taking advantage of the most vulnerable and weak-minded people in society. I was there and I did it, at one time. And then when they're done with you, you're no longer, they don't have any use for you. You become disposable. And they're doing the same thing. They did it with the black people, and they did it with the immigrants, illegal immigrants. They do it with LGBTQ, and so the protests, the last thing they want to do is give you something that's going to help you. But they allowed Black Lives Matter to protest because they know we needed an outlet somehow or some way. But they never met any of the demands. They never gave us anything. It was bait and switch They never kept any of their promises, and that's what they're good for.
So this is what the movement is saying in a statement. The 50-51 movement does not refer to an organization. It represents a vision, the American dream, as we were all once taught to believe in it. This is not just a movement, it is our modern day civil rights struggle. So I was told that the American dream was to work hard. And if you work hard, you get a good paying job and you get to take care of your family. We're seeing the American dream being robbed from people, though. Our tax dollars are being spent on foreign governments when our people are struggling, money going to illegals. Folks of our generation can't afford a house. Our education system is going nowhere. How is this the American dream?
And not only that, now they're being exposed for the largest fraud probably in the United States history vis-a-vis USAID, along with, a plethora of other crimes against, the country. And they're just being exposed for it. But these protests, they're all performative. In my state, in Rhode Island, it was maybe a couple dozen people out, with some signs and stuff. And, I think it's interesting,
It's ritualistic.
To me, it smells of the George Soros playbook. And I'm not going to mention any names. But
yeah, the George Soros playbook is the Obama doctrine, the Cloward and Piven strategy.
But this is kind of the playbook, and it's interesting to me the day of the protest that was scheduled by online demonstrators for the 5th and the 17th, I think. A couple of days before that, they had the scheduled protest for illegal immigration and several.
Imagine being in favor of illegal alien invasions. If you live in Columbus, I use this example. You live in Columbus, you live in Ohio, you root for the Ohio State Buckeyes. Why would you import Michigan fans? Why do you want 30,000 Somalis dumped into your community? No shared history, no culture, language, Bill of Rights, knowing the American history, criminal background checks, health checks, the ability to provide for yourself and not have to take from others, be a net positive to society instead of a net negative taking. Why do you want to change your culture? You're Buckeye fans in Columbus. Why you're German in Germany? Why do you want to have people from other places in your country? That's your country.
Strategic cities across the country. So this is just them.
Imagine prioritizing people that are not Americans over Americans. It makes as much sense as trying to fight really hard to get men beating up on women in sports. Women who we've segregated in sports because there are obvious genetic differences between the power, strength, physicality of men and women, which is why they were separated in the first place. And the Democrats have been on a mission so that men can beat up women. They take the strangest positions on the most obvious issues. You help Americans, not non-Americans.
Be it, sore losers and sour grapes.
Oh, they are
sore losers, sour grapes.
Sore losers and sour grapes, indeed.
There's even
this is shared from David Harris Jr. Here's President Trump talking about, will we get some of that money back, that sweet, sweet Doge money? Find some savings, get some savings.
Under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the Doge savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt.
Okay, 20% to the citizens, 20% to debt. Where's the other 60%? It should be 20% to the citizens, 80% to the debt. I don't want them expanding government spending now. The point of this is to chop and reduce the spending. Look, you're saving hundreds of billions. Yeah, I'll take $5,000. That'll help me out for a month. That'd be a nice month. That'd be helpful. And by the way, you don't tax those checks either. Riddle me this. How in the world are like any sort of government issued check, I don't know, Social Security or unemployment or when these checks come through, you cannot tax those. You cannot tax those. Those are not taxable dollars. That is the most absurd thing I've ever heard. Yeah, I went from having 2 jobs during COVID to having 0. And so I had to jump on unemployment. And then it's like, oh, how much taxes would being with it? Tax? I'm like, bitch, you knocked me off of my 2 jobs. I didn't want to stop working. Tax. How much tax do you want to withhold? What? And I've heard Trump saying that Medicare and unemployment, like these should not be taxed. They should not be taxed. The human experience is supposed to be something more important than just being a debt slave. Taxed. Holy shit. Trump is talking about getting rid of the IRS, getting rid of the Federal Reserve, getting rid of, my God, imagine if your dollar spent 97% more strongly than it does now. That money has been stolen from you through inflation. Oh, inflation's just natural. No, it's not. Doesn't have to be. No, it's not. Nope. Doesn't have to be. We should have the strongest currency on earth. And it should be easy for us to live on little dollars, getting all the things we need, plus a security net of savings, retirement, this, that, and the other. But I have some real big concerns here. You want to do 20% to the American people, 20% to the debt. Why did you not mention what your 60% is for? Are you going to use the 60% to fund an expansion of government? You're trying to push through this big, beautiful bill in the Senate and the House. You want to increase the amount of government spending? This is not the time to do that. I don't know that Trump's reading the room here on this one. Now, I'm going to reserve the right to modify my opinion. I'm just like, this is stream of consciousness here. But if you save $100 billion, okay. If $20 billion goes back to the people as $5,000 checks, I feel like $80 billion should be going to pay off that debt. The amount that we're spending on interest on that debt is more than we're spending on our military. If my numbers that I'm remembering off the top of my head are accurate. That's not just unsustainable. That's a bankruptcy phase that is unheard of. You are beyond Weekend at Bernie's at that point. When the usury. Who the hell's charging us interest and why? What is with these banks and these bankers? Why do they think they're in charge of humanity? Oh, we got questions here. But anyway, I'm just curious about 20% to the people, 20% to the debt. What's the other 60% for?
Pay down debt. There's even under consideration a new concept where we give 20% of the DOGE savings to American citizens and 20% goes to paying down debt, because the numbers are incredible, Elon. So many billions of dollars, billions, hundreds of billions, and we're thinking about giving 20% back to the American citizens and 20% down to pay back debt and pay down debt. There's even
red flag. Why are you not mentioning the 60%? That's bigger than the 40. Why did you? He's a professional verbalist. He's a professional speaker. Why wouldn't he talk about that 60%? Is it because they're trying to push through these massive spending bills, an omnibus, not an omnibus, but he goes, one big, beautiful bill. You see, my Trump is like that fired up kind of Trump. But that was nasally Trump kind of talking about brings it back to the American people. Like I got to figure out how to find like that reserve Trump, the big deep breaths and kind of talking about it with Elon. Maybe all I have to do is soften how I'm doing the Trump and maybe hold my breath in between the words that I say. And maybe that's what it sounds like. I don't know. What do you think, Kenneth? Critique my two versions of Trump. Am I starting to get closer to it with the holding my breath, just quieter, and I'm still the same Trump, but it's a little different. And maybe if I get excited, maybe thinking about locking up Hillary Clinton, finally, maybe then that's how you do Trump. Just a little quieter, holding your breath in between the words. And they said, sir, it sounds like you're holding your breath and doing a lot of nasal breathing in between what you're saying. And I said, no, it's 4-dimensional chess, not whatever the hell Biden's been up to. Maybe that's the key. Maybe I need to hold my breath in between the words. But then again, I won't know because I'd have to go back and listen to me doing that, and I don't like doing that. That feels better. And I only figure that out like literally in this moment. All right, here is Mike Benz talking to Joe Rogan about all of the screwed up things in the world.
It's an incredible scandalous clip. Do you remember when Joe Biden was at the Council on Foreign Relations and bragged that he got the top prosecutor in Ukraine fired by the Ukrainian government because he explicitly conditioned the firing of the prosecutor who was investigating Burisma. He expressly conditioned
this right here. This story merges all of these talking points together, and we go, oh my God, it was all in front of our faces this entire time. Okay, so when will there be justice for the Biden regime?
Their receipt of $1 billion in U.S. financial assistance on the firing of Victor Shokin, the prosecutor.
I had gotten a commitment from Poroshenko and from Yatsenyuk that they would take action against the state prosecutor, and they didn't. So they said they were walking out to the press conference. I said, no, I said, I'm not going to, or we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, you have no authority. You're not the president. The president said. I said, call him. I said, I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion. I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money. Well, son of a bitch. Got fired.
And he said, well, son of a bee, he was fired. And
it's so crazy watching him brag about that publicly. It just shows you what an idiot he is.
You know what that $1 billion in financial assistance was? It was a USAID grant.
You're like, what the f?
It's an incredible.
A USAID grant. Of course we're cutting off USAID then. Louis Sparks.
I mean, how dumb can you be? Look at this. People, American citizens, are protesting the organization that's trying to prevent the government from robbing them. I mean, complete idiots. People are protesting the agency that's trying to cut waste. It's the most ridiculous thing. What is that? What the hell is wrong with it? I mean, how dumb can you be?
You know what? Democrats truly are living in the bizarre world. Let's prioritize mental health counseling services to those poor manipulated souls who still listen to the Democrat deep state lies. America must heal. Okay, that's my comment there. Imagine protesting the graft in government. What a cuck position you have to be. This is Quiver Quantitative. They're showing these people making $230,000, a little bit of money. Oh no, I'm sorry. Oh no, that's not thousand. 245 million. So how did these people get so rich?
How is it possible that all these members of Congress are
Susan Collins, 5.9 million. Shelley Capito, 4.6. John Tester, 4.1.
worth millions of dollars on a salary
Portman, 10.8.
of just $174,000? I'll give you a hint. It's not speaking fees. They do it by trading stocks. Let me give you an example. Back in November, I noticed that Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman bought shares in a company called Viasat. For those who don't know, Viasat is a satellite internet provider who also happens to do a ton of business with the US military. Now, the reason this stood out to me at the time is because Debbie Wasserman isn't just your average congresswoman. She just so happens to sit on the House Subcommittee on Military Construction. What this means is that she sits on closed-door meetings learning about all sorts of new military contract discussions that are completely closed off to the public. The fact that she bought shares in Viasat, a major defense contractor, while attending these meetings told me that maybe she knows something about Viasat that we don't.
Okay, so how do we make stock trades based on what these insiders are doing? Does someone know how to do that? I really want to do that. Little here, little there. If they're allowed to game the system, why don't we just match them equally?
And sure enough, fast forward just 1 month later, NASA announced a $4.82 billion contract for low Earth orbit satellites, in which one of the companies awarded was, yep, you guessed it, Viasat. And since I made that post about Debbie buying Viasat in November, shares are up more than 40%. Now, I wish I could say that this was an isolated incident, but the truth is, this happens all the time. And it's the reason that until they outlaw trading in Congress, you should be tracking what they're buying and selling. Because maybe they know something that we don't. To track Congress trades and government contracts, check out Quiver Quant, where I track it all live.
All right, so he said this was an advertisement, but look, that story goes on and on. It's a tale as old as time. That those who know are getting the head start on you, and it's like you can never get caught up. But well, maybe there's a way we can track and trace. We can identify and mimic those things that are working successfully. Kenneth was saying, no, I need to do over the top Trump. Like, I like over the top Trump. Obviously, I like over the top Trump, but it's a little rough on the throat. And here's the problem with being over the top the whole time. There's nowhere to crank it up to. If everything is noise, you can't. What does Metallica say? Hear the silence so loud. For whom the bell tolls, time marches on. The dynamic range of being able to dial it back a little bit, maybe a little bit. I think holding in your breath would be good there. And even when I said holding, that was one of those words that just rolls off the tongue with a little more gusto. They said, sir, you're bringing the gusto. I said, I'm bringing a little gusto. Gotta have some. Elon, am I too gusto-y? No, boss. That's the proper amount of gusto in my opinion. That's a good one, boss. There you go, Elon. He likes the gusto. New executive order: 17% more gusto for all Americans starting today. So stupid. But I did hear me doing all of that, and it did still make me laugh. 17% more gusto starting to. I like the idea that Trump will be in the middle of a thought and new executive order. It's going to be like new rules from Bill Maher. All right, new rule. New EO, not Elon, EO. They say, what is the EO? Is that Elon? But really, I do that too much, and it does start to mess with my throat a little bit. So that is part of the reason why I got to dial it back. 17% more gusto. When I did my Elon Musk on stage this week, I didn't stutter and stammer enough. I just kind of like him as like a ho-hum, oh shucks kind of guy. All right, back to the show. I have a lot of stories to still get to. I'm going to try to focus here. Man, that did crack me up, though. But here's Tim Kennedy, MMA. He's got some thoughts about the U.S. State Department under Secretary Rubio and President Trump.
So the State Department just named very specifically cartels that have been designated foreign terrorist organizations. Here's the actual signed Department of State letter. I'm currently at the White House. We're working out of the War Room, and while I'm sitting here in the War Room, Department of State releases this. This is going to have huge implications and ramifications, obviously to cartels overseas, but to our military, enabling them to really start combating this fentanyl crisis, the drugs that have been pouring into this country. It's time that we take this country back.
Yeah.
So the State Department just named.
Hey, this is so long overdue. All you ever had to do was have somebody that cared about this, and you could take care of it. Matt Van Swol, look, someone that cares. A grand total of 0 major news outlets yesterday reported on the fact that President Trump's FEMA, by the way, resolved 80% of all open Hurricane Helene victim cases in Western North Carolina in just 5 days. Not one. Read that again. Good job, Christy. No. Is this the same quote that I showed earlier?
I'll be working with the Republican Congress.
Oh, no, this is different. Okay, now we're talking about the budget deal. And I guess, look, my understanding is that we are in a bit of a transition moment. There are things that are kind of, imagine you're on a freeway. You have mile markers. Oh my God. Actually, I might share. I'm trying to think. Coming up on this Instagram feed, I think I caught horrific footage from a crash inside of a tunnel and the fire and the explosion and having to get out of there. Because you should always have a plan where whatever situation you're in, you should be ready to be ready for anything. That's not to be paranoid. It's just like, look, in a moment's notice, you might need to make a bold decision in the heat of what just happened. Like, you might have to go. You're at a concert and something happens. Boom, you need to make a move right now. You're on the road and something happens. Boom, you gotta go. But imagine you're on a freeway and there's mile markers every quarter of a mile, or every mile, every half mile. I've seen it all sorts of ways. I think I've seen it all sorts of ways. But imagine there's 4 mile markers, and then after that, there's 4 more mile markers. So mile marker 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You have 4 mile markers behind you. And let's just imagine a big semi truck doing 75 miles an hour is at each mile marker. And they're moving 70 miles an hour. Mile marker 5, 6, 7, 8. We're beginning. Mile marker 5 is the first year of President Trump's term, current term. Has to set a budget. There are some things that he's going to have to brace the impact and keep moving. So it's almost like turning around with your catcher's mitt, catching a fastball, and the inertia of that fastball is going to guide you forward. So as you go forward, that will alert the other trucks to slow down a little bit. And you can then plan for skidding a little this way and then properly budgeting the stuff moving forward. I've heard this described many different ways, and I'm open to interpretation. Please leave your comments on your thoughts about the budget. But it looks like, and I could be interpreting this wrong, so any budget experts out there, please correct me or help elaborate. Help me understand. Help the viewers, help the audience understand what we're trying to do with this budget. But it looks like they're trying to raise the debt ceiling. That sounds like madness. No, we can't spend more. We can't, but not everything is exactly how it sounds. The Patriot Act is not patriotic, for example. A reverse mortgage is not a good thing. Reverse mortgage? I'll take money for free each month. No. It's a trap. Stop. No. Timeshare. Oh, I'd like to share my time. Well, that's a great idea. Timeshare. By the way, those 3 things are jokes that I made in week 1 of my stand-up career. But my understanding is that year one, maybe even year two of the budget is going to have to still be stupid to catch the things that are headed toward us from the previous administration. Those trucks are flying 70 miles an hour, separated 1 year apart, 1 mile apart. We have to adjust for that momentum as we propel forward with another plan. Like maybe after this budget, we could get it put together the right way. Maybe after the next budget, we can get it put together the right way. To the best of my knowledge, that's the best way I can describe this. I might not even have it right. But that is my working assumption. That is my thought process on the matter at the moment. But let's listen to President Trump talk about what Congress is trying to do. Tax breaks, budgets, all of it. DOGE, savings, spending, debt, all of it.
To pass the largest tax cuts in American history. And that includes, obviously, we have to extend the Trump tax cuts, which were, until now, the largest. We're going to dramatically cut taxes for families and for workers and for companies, including no tax on tips and hopefully no tax on Social Security and no tax on overtime.
There you go.
And that overtime one is a sleeper because I think a lot of people are going to be spurred on to do a lot of extra work.
All right. Yeah. And this is exactly what I was saying, maybe, a little bit ago about President Trump, and no tax on tips, no tax on on Social Security. Why are you getting taxed on Social Security? Stop it. Don't you dare. Don't you dare. In overtime. Why are you getting taxed on busting your ass and going above and beyond? You shouldn't be taxed on that either. Look, the great people in your organization, how many times would you look at like a Cleveland Indians game? And Jose Ramirez would be like the one person driving in some runs, getting some hits, had a home run or two. You win the game 1-0, 2-0, 3-1, 3-2. And it's like, geez, you had one guy that made up for almost everybody else on the team striking out almost the entire game. One guy was able to drive you past the finish line to get a victory that day. One. Maybe your department, maybe your organization, your company, your team, whoever it is. Really, how many inferior Cavaliers teams did LeBron James drag to the finals? Because he was so good, he made everybody else around him better, and his contribution was enough to get past everyone else, or almost everyone else, until the finals. If you have a great employee that's crushing it, and they could work a little bit extra, that employee working 5 extra hours is not a normal employee working 5 extra hours. They're a 10x performer. So if you're one of the best that you would want, no, I don't need the losers to work extra. I need that superstar. Hey, superstar, can you work extra? Like, I mean, I could, but if I work too much, it's going to put me in another tax bracket. And that's like almost like I'm working for free. There's the downfall to communism right there. When you're punitively attacked, when you're punished, when you're penalized for creation, why bother? No, I'm not going to pull any extra weight. Let them pull some extra weight. I'm good. But if that 10x performer works 5 extra hours, you get an extra 50 hours that week. That's like an extra employee plus another 20%. Instead of 40 hours, 50 hours. Trump's right about this. President Trump is right here that this is a hidden thing. If the best people are encouraged to double down on their bankroll and crush, that amount of productivity and innovation is going to help everything in America. Just take the tax. Just don't allow them to tax that extra part. They'll make more in their overtime than they make in their regular. And you've seen this being abused big time at the Postal Service, at the fire departments, with the police. They'll make 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times more than their salary because they're finding a way to squeeze every extra dollar. There's little tricks that every department knows. And if you're in the right group, they'll tell you, hey, buddy, here's how you get that extra 100,000 this month, this quarter, this year, whatever the case may be. I think President Trump's right about this point.
When they hear that, it's a lot of companies really like it, and a lot of people really like it. The new Trump tax cuts will also include 100% expensing for new factory construction in the United States and anything else that you're going to buy with capital. If you buy something that is going to be good for our country, we're going to let you expense it, 1 year expense. And I did that the first time, and everybody was saying, can you go back to that?
And everybody's saying, can you go back to, see, like right there, he raised it up to just emphasize. He's trying to talk over the applause. Yeah, so that's what I need to do. I need to maybe.
Now you still get, I guess, 40% or whatever, but it, pares down. But we're going to bring that right up to the top level. I think that had a lot to do with the success that I had during my first term, and we'll substantially.
Yeah, if you're encouraged to reinvest into your company by buying American products, and you get this bonus provision to do so. Yeah, you're encouraging people to do good things. That's going to encourage finally a businessman running this country.
Cut taxes for all domestic producers of oil and gas and just about everything else. That
we have got to get these energy prices down. My damn gas bill. Oh my God. Gas, electric, water. The basic utilities are way too expensive. Way too expensive. I'm like, how in the world am I using that much water? It doesn't even make sense how much that is. It doesn't even make sense. Anyway, you get my point.
They produce. Now you still get, I guess, 40%.
So there's that. What is this? Delta, according to ABC News, reported by Toria Brooke, Delta is offering $30,000 to each passenger on board the plane that flipped on the runway in Toronto. The gesture has no strings attached and does not affect rights. Wow. Live from America TV says President real Donald Trump says he's considering giving 20% of DOGE savings to Americans, 20% toward paying down the. Okay, yeah. Regarding the political witch hunt indictment made against Brazil's rightful president, Jair Bolsonaro, he said a friend of his from Israel called and asked what kind of attack or coup is this that Mossad wasn't aware of.
Espero que agora possa ter acesso aos autos.
I hope that now I can have access to these case files. They're doing to Bolsonaro what they did to Trump. Lula is the Biden. This Brazil situation should matter.
Você já viu a minuta de golpe por acaso? Você já viu a minuta de golpe? Não viu, eu também não vi. Você já viu a delação do Cid? Você não viu, também não vi. Eu estou aguardando. Olha, a frase mais emblemática, de uns 30 dias mais ou menos. Um amigo que eu deixei em Israel ligou para mim e falou o seguinte: que golpe é esse que o Mossad não estava sabendo? Eu acho que resume tudo o que está acontecendo.
O senhor está tranquilo, presidente? O senhor está tranquilo, presidente? O senhor está tranquilo, senhor presidente do país?
Olha para minha cara, o que tu acha? Eu não tenho nenhuma preocupação com essa coisa.
I have no concerns about the accusations. Zero. They're trying to trump Bolsonaro. That's why this matters.
Como é que estão sendo a vida?
All right. What is this? Don't know what that is. Okay, don't know what that is. U.S. Marshals are on the move. Okay. They're letting us know things are happening with the U.S. Marshals. All right. Anyway, moving along.
This guy.
Here's Fleckis. God, I haven't talked to Fleckis in a while. Met him at a Politicon years ago. Let's hear his perspective.
Let's talk about all the money that was given to the NGOs to bring illegals here. And
giving NGOs money to bring non-Americans into America. By the way, if stopping government funding stops an NGO, it was never an NGO to begin with. It was a GO. It was either non-governmental or governmental. That's it.
Listen to how much and what time frame.
Can you name some of these NGOs that have specifically taken these hundreds of millions of dollars and not used it to protect these children?
Catholic Charities, Youth and Family Services.
Catholic Charities.
Jewish Family Services,
I spoke to a gentleman that works in DHS. He actually
Jewish Family Services. Like I said, they assisted me at one point to get my foster kid into summer camp, which was cool. That was my only experience with them that I'm aware of. But they helped out in that regard.
sends the electronic fund transfers, and I asked him, sir, tell me, who do you send, who are you responsible for, and how much is the largest check you cut? He said, I'm over Jewish Family Services, and I cut a check for $600 million. And I said, is that for like 3 years? And he told me, JJ, get in the game. That's 2 or 3 months.
2 or 3 months, $600 million, Jewish Family Services to bring in third world illegals here. So all your tax dollars on one hand go to writing twink articles about how Trump needs to be impeached and actually impeaching him, and all the propaganda for news sites that would never exist if they were having to compete in the free market. And then on the other hand, your tax dollars are going to bring third worlders here that make your life harder, your costs go up, your ability to buy a house or settle down or live in a nice neighborhood in a trusting community and have a family, that all goes down. This guy's talking about all the money that was given to the NGOs to bring.
Yeah. Truly a bizarro world scenario. All right. Imagine having our money stolen so that our society could be destroyed. Yeah, Anna Paulina Luna. Audit Zelensky. 100 times. Yes. Yeah, Zelensky is in for. Oh, this is not going to end well for Zelensky. And I agree here. This is Congressman Brandon Gill talking with Larry Elder. If you go back on our YouTube channel, we've had several conversations with Larry Elder, one of the best minds in the political game today. How would you grade President Trump?
President's been in office now for 4 weeks. Give him a grade.
I'd give him an A+ across the board. I mean, he is moving so fast in executing on his mandate and doing exactly what he's been telling voters he was going to do. It's so refreshing to see a president who wants to take this country back and is working in the best interests of the American people. I couldn't be happier with how President Trump has handled things over the past month.
The president.
I'm with you. That's a question of the day for you in the comments. How would you grade President Trump's first month? Chuck Schumer, we covered this at the top of the show, but here, Chuck Schumer says, of course, there's some wasteful spending, but you don't use a meat axe to cut everything. Here's Doge. There you go. Chainsaw time. And here is University of Leeds student. What is this? Suspended from hosting a radio show for expressing gender-critical beliefs, has claimed that the UK is the laughingstock of the world for its stance on free speech. This is coming from GB News. Connie Shaw was removed from her university's radio show after voicing her view that men can't be women and was accused of breaching the student union's code of conduct. Dude, this is madness. Jordan Peterson warned us. Speaking to GB News, Shaw issued a stark warning for the future of policing free speech in the UK and claimed that people are being policed for having non-controversial views. This is nuts.
Very concerning that the state is basically going to be able to decide what is true and what isn't. When we have a prime minister who thinks that some women can have penises and a foreign secretary who thinks that men can grow a cervix, you know, if it's the state who's deciding what's true and what's not true, then that is a very concerning starting point. You know, equally, there's this other aspect of the act where it says that if someone is found to be knowingly spreading disinformation, that is another way that it can be illegal. But I would like to think that Keir Starmer and David Lammy know that they're spreading disinformation, but you simply don't know. Do they believe this or do they not? So again, that's subjective.
Where do we stand in the global stage with speech? Are we as bad as people make out? Because you see the memes from Elon Musk and
I think clearly we are the laughingstock of the world. For the Vice President to call us out directly and say, look, I'm worried about the threat from within, and you know that, and he is absolutely right. We have students like me being removed from their posts for simply having very non-controversial views. You have people being arrested for burning the Quran, which is not illegal. But the state facilitates the falsification of sex. The Gender Recognition Act means that men can pretend to be women by law. So for the state to come out and say that they're cracking down on misinformation, I think they need to take a look at themselves. It's very.
That's brilliantly said. Actually, I don't know how to follow this woman. What is her follow this brave woman. Yeah, imagine non-controversial views, and you say that they're brave. All right, Ben Swan is saying it too. He's saying Zelensky's in trouble. Oh, he's in trouble. All right.
Vladimir Zelensky is in trouble. He and Donald Trump have finally turned on each other. Trump says he's a dictator because he won't hold elections. And that is true. In Ukraine, they have rules that essentially say if the country is at a time of war or under martial law, the country can suspend elections. Well, a year ago, Zelensky's term as president expired, and no elections have been held. Biden was okay with it. Anthony Blinken was okay with it. In fact, they stated publicly that the United States would support Zelensky remaining in power indefinitely, that no elections needed to be held. By the way, the Ukrainian constitution does not say that no one assumes the presidency except for whoever's in the seat. In fact, under the laws, Zelensky shouldn't be there, and the president of the parliament should have taken over the country. Trump also says that part of the problem here, Zelensky is only at a 4% approval rating. Also true. He's extremely unpopular in his country. And the polling show that had he held elections a year ago, Zelensky would have been out of office. Here's the most comical part. While there are...
By the way, the most comical part. But there's one more part to it. Didn't Trudeau did something similar to push elections back a little bit. Now he's resigning. People across the globe see what's going on. And if you get rid of the people who don't reside in that country, that the Obama doctrine tried to dump there and change your culture from the inside out, everyone will reject the Obama doctrine. Everyone is going to reject this nonstop warfare, this nonsense, this money laundering, this graft, the grift.
Arguing with each other. Zelensky has come out now and said, we don't need the United States. If
Zelensky says we don't need the United States.
They don't want to give us more money, fine. Instead, Europe should give us another $250 billion. Listen.
Money, good. Give us 250 billions, which are...
You know, you got the guy asking for money outside of a 7-Eleven. And you got Zelensky saying, fine, give me 250 billions. How about no? What the hell are you talking about? Give me 250 billions. Every time he's groveling for money, it's just... This is a war that should have never started. Stop the war. And I posted a graphic yesterday on yesterday's show. If they would have just stopped the war when it started, they wouldn't have lost their territories. And the bloodshed would have been minimal. And they could have backed off, pulled NATO back, pulled your weapons back, pull your ambitions to join NATO back. And this could have probably, potentially been over. It's because of this guy, Zelensky, listening to Newland, Obama, Biden. He backed the wrong horse. He picked the wrong strategy. Give us 250 billions. You guys give what you need to give. I don't want to do it.
Here in Europe, frozen Russian assets.
Frozen Russian assets. Give us that.
No answer.
At the end of the day...
Oh, we got no answer. Well, people stop taking your calls. It's usually a sign.
It really doesn't matter because Europe is not going to support the Ukrainian war if the United States is not involved. And the U.S. will continue to move forward to end this war because Trump has said no more money, no more U.S. troops, and no NATO membership. And he has the power to make all three of those things happen. Well, Vladimir...
There you go. Good segment from Ben Swan. Go back in the YouTube archives of the New American Media. Hit like, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and type in Ben Swan, double S-W-A. Okay. BENSWANN. Double N. We've interviewed him a couple of times on the program. He's a good independent media voice. This guy's a great voice. I'm just learning about him.
You all are criminals, right?
Rev W. John K. Amanchukwu Sr. Let me see if I can do that better. John K. Amanchukwu Sr. John K. This is the energy.
Now, you want to know why you all don't give justice to everyone? because you lie about diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI is the ultimate black face. You say it's about Negroes and black people, but it's really about pushing a trans agenda. The other one, what's the educational benefit of talking about what's the educational benefit of talking about that? Bit of clear fluid that may contain two sperm. Was it something I said? If you don't want to hear it in a school board meeting, why should children be able to check it out of the school system? Critical race theory will never solve racism because critical race theory is racism. I'm against white supremacy, and I'm against black supremacy, but I'm for God's supremacy. I have 3 beautiful black children. And I don't teach them that they are inferior to anybody. I train them that they can realize the American dream if they invest their time into things that matter. But it's a shame before God that these institutions today in America are teaching black children otherwise, as we are failing in the public school system. This must change, this must stop, and it will not happen on my watch.
Yeah, follow Rev WU Truth to protect our kids. Amen. We typed, what did we say? It's time to eliminate the DOE and DEI. This man has the energy that we need to fix our schools. Time to destroy the backward Marxist indoctrination camps masquerading as public schools. Oh, God, this was the post I was telling you about. Yes, please, Kenneth, stop the insanity. Kenneth gives President Trump an A++++. Call 1-600-DOCTORB. The B is for bargain. 1-600-DOCTORB. Show me my BBBBQ. That B stands for this. What about that B? Oh, that B is a typo. You don't win friends with salad. All these Simpsons jokes are coming back to me. A triple plus. Or the A++++. That's from Christmas Story. She's adding all those extra pluses. Brazil's gone nuts. We're talking about investments. Robin says no crypto for me. I just don't want to take the time to learn about it. Have silver, hope to get Doge payback. Yeah, Robin, I would just say don't take my financial advice because I don't have any. You have to say that. But to set up an account and put $10, like buy $10 worth of, to get a little bit, and then you start following it a little bit, just to dip your beak into it and have a little bit of a diversification of it. $50, $100, $1,000, depending on everyone's scenario, but crypto's done pretty well, and it continues to do really well. And a lot of things have not. It's not all that complicated to go on like Coinbase and buy a little bit of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana or Doge even. Maybe just a couple here, a couple there, and just, it's like if you go to the store and you buy a pack of baseball cards. You're like, maybe I'll find something awesome in here. Maybe not. At the end of the day, it was like a $5 pack of baseball cards or a $20 box of baseball cards. You're like, I don't know. Maybe it will, maybe it won't, but I'll put a little bit in there this week. Put a little bit. I'm not going to take, redirect 25% of my entire net wealth towards something, but I would strongly recommend looking into just getting a little skin in the game. It changes how you feel about the crypto market. I don't have any crypto sponsors, although I would like to. There you go, Kenneth. Bitcoin helped him retire. Yeah, I tried to buy. I got my. Everybody has their Bitcoin story. Yeah, I tried to buy one coin. They capped the purchase at half a coin. And then they took their fees out. So it was 0.44 coin. And I just wanted to keep it forever, but it was on a Circle database and they gave me a check 5 years ago, about 5 years ago, when it was very cheap. What was the price of Bitcoin 5 years ago? Anyway, regardless, yeah, Bitcoin has helped a lot of people, and it continues to help people because it's something honest. You can't steal the gold bars like maybe at Fort Knox. You can't print money, digitize money by the trillions to ramp up inflation, which steals the purchase power of your dollar. Yeah, you could run an EMP and shut the grid down, and whatever we think we have in crypto might not be there. But you know, there's a risk to every sort of. Well, you could have your money in real estate and be like, oh, well, at least I have a property and that's going up. And that's good. The market could crash. Like, there's like upside, downside, risk, and reward to every financial opportunity out there for sure. Look, when I was talking to you about the budget a minute ago, this is like one of the most terrifying videos I've ever seen. And I was talking about the mile markers. You had 4 semi-trucks behind, and there's 4 semi-trucks coming up ahead. Imagine those trucks crashing inside of a tunnel. This video is from afterdarknews.us. This is a Wyoming Highway Patrol and Wyoming Department of Transportation confirming a 3rd fatality from Wednesday's crash in the Green River Tunnel on Interstate 80. That brings the total to 3. Cleanup efforts still underway. Details expected as additional sections of the tunnel are cleared. WYDOT estimates 26 vehicles were involved in the deadly incident. Earlier reports indicate that emergency rescue operations were delayed due to electrical equipment failures and fires inside the tunnel. However, officials state that the westbound tunnel where the crash occurred does not appear to be at risk of collapse. This guy's filming, he's driving. Well, I'll just play this for you. You talk about it might be wise to always keep your head on a swivel and always have a plan in place to react quickly. Well, if you ended up in this scenario, you would have had to act quickly if you didn't want to be a 4th victim. Man, seriously, this video shook me. Multiple reasons.
So this happened coming through a fucking tunnel. I'm in a wreck. This is fucking bad. Oh, this truck is on fire. I got to get out of here. Oh shit. Oh fuck.
Listen to the people screaming in the background. He's kicking the windshield out of the semi. The fire raging.
Holy shit! So I almost died in there, man. Where are you driving? The TVA truck right there. It's up in the tunnel. I fucking.
I was in the yellow Penske truck. My truck's in there too.
I'm one of the very last ones, man. So this happened.
Man, you hear those people screaming. You just wonder if those people weren't able to make it out. It's just be careful out there. Just a reminder, be careful. Maybe someone can slow down on their drive. Maybe someone can be ready to jump into action. If he waited a couple seconds longer, maybe he wouldn't have made it. Maybe he would have succumbed to the smoke, the flames, something could have exploded. Just always be prepared. EPA Chief Lee Zeldin is saying that a revelation is extremely concerning. This is shared from real Marjorie Green. DOGE has found $2 billion in taxpayer funds earmarked for Stacey Abrams linked group. Democrats allegedly funneled $2 billion of your money to an organization linked to Stacey Abrams. Then they tried to hide it from the Trump administration. The DOJ should immediately investigate this and people should go to jail. Agreed. Minnesota Vikings punter Chris Kluwe, he has Trump derangement syndrome. That was an embarrassing video. But here, this kind of piggybacks off of what I said earlier about the nations that are receiving aid. What happens? Does this help the nations, or does it fix things, or does it not?
Never heard of a country that developed on aid.
This is from Poverty Inc. movie.
If you know of one, just let me know.
I've never heard of a country that was developed on aid. If you've heard of one, just let me know.
I know about countries that developed on trade and innovation and business.
Trade and innovation and business are how you innovate, how you develop.
I don't know of any country that got so much aid and they suddenly became a first world country. I've never heard of such a country. So the track is wrong. That track ends to nowhere.
There is a school of thought out there that I don't agree with, where indeed people think they owe the poor people to give them money without thinking about how they are going to use this money. Aid leads to more aid and more aid and more aid and less independence.
Less independence of the people. It's what the Democrat Party is. They try to get as many people hooked on aid, kickbacks, bribes, payoffs, treason. You get them hooked on that air quote free money. Then you got your army of people marching in the streets against finding corruption, because the corruption is how they're getting paid. It's how they're getting their kickbacks and their bribes.
The people that are receiving aid.
And then they lose their independence.
Second, there's a wrong notion for people who have money or who give aid. They feel good that they're helping, but the best way to help is to help people to be able to stand on their own.
Yes. Give a man a fish, he eats for a day. Teach a man to fish, he eats for a lifetime.
Our governments are not encouraged to buy local. Now, when we talk to the international donor community, they say it's not their policy and that we're in cloud cuckoo land. When we talk to the government says, hey, we're not allowed to buy with donor money local products. That's just the way it is. It's their money, they decide.
And last week I shared a video. It was an undercover. They were having a school board meeting saying the Department of Defense are the ones that negotiate the contracts with Post and General Mills and Nestle and all the food companies. And you have to pay the prices that they negotiate, and you have to use the garbage processed, ultra refined foods that they make money off of. And so the kids are the ones that suffer, and you don't get a good deal. You get bad food at a bad deal. You're not encouraged to buy locally. You got to buy through, oh, well, they're negotiated contracts and we get our stuff through this place. And yeah, it's all money laundering. It's all grift and paybacks. Grift. What am I trying to say? Not paybacks. Money laundering. It is paying back. You're paying back. You get the contract through USAID. USAID negotiates a deal with General Mills. General Mills overinflates. Then they get to kick some of that money back to other people. And then they go in with the aid, but they can't do local food, which would help their community. It's all helping the big business that is in bed with helping to write the legislation with USAID that pushes it there, and it funds that politician. And then this company will fund that politician. It is a shell game. It is a shell game. And they're great at it. But it's obvious, and it doesn't help, and it has to stop, and it has to be transparent.
Who gets it? For example, 5 companies in Ghana got together to bid for a contract together. Now, everything was going very well. We were competent to do the work. Guess what happens? We're bidding against some European companies. One of the companies got their government to loan our government money, very soft loan, for the project. Our folks in the government said, hey, you know, we love you very much. Nothing beats free money. We lost our money. You know what we ended up doing? We ended up working as subcontractors to the Europeans. Yeah. They gave us the worst part of the business. The most difficult and least profitable part, we wound up doing it because we were better at doing the work.
The least profitable, most demanding, because we're better at doing the work.
So they got the best of both worlds. Their government paid. We ended up doing the work. They took the money. That's not development. That's not assistance. Yes. That's thuggery.
That's thuggery.
I have never heard of a...
That is truly shocking and eye-opening. Let's audit everything, everywhere. Stop the madness. Okay. Yeah, you think you're doing good, and they're like, oh, they have all of this They're doing so many good things. Are they, though? This is Doge News official sharing this joke. Everyone at Fort Knox right now. Here's a picture of a brick and a picture of Krylon metallic paint. Gold. And I have an idea. Might take a minute, but I'm okay with it. Maybe we should remelt and re-pour every single bar. That's a real audit. And you stamp it Trump, you stamp it 48, number 48, president, 48th president. Stamp it MAGA. Put the date on there. That on this date, these bars were created, completely smelted down to smithereens. If there were any fake bars, that was all smelted off. That was all taken out. Any tungsten or fake gold removed. Because I don't know how else you're really going to do an audit. You're going to have to saw these bars in half. You're going to have to melt them. You're going to have to melt so many. Like, you're just guessing. And you're picking from all random areas to do the audit. Like, you either count all of them by melting them all or you don't. I don't even know how they could try to do this without remelting them. We're the U.S. government. We can figure it out. Let's bring in some professional smelting materials. And you know what? That'll be our next project for a month. Every bar is getting remelted to prove that every single bar in here is 100% gold. That's what we said at the bottom. Seriously, to do an audit, we're going to have to cut random bars in half, melt bars, etc. Looking at pallets from a distance does nothing. I was supposed to say at pallets from a distance does nothing. Anyone else? Me, after filing an extension on my taxes so DOGE has time to abolish... Me, after filing an extension on my taxes so DOGE has time to abolish the IRS. Yeah, anyone else? Here's your liberal coworker every day for the next 4 years. Your liberal coworker every day.
There's no point in saying good morning because it certainly is not one.
I talked over it. Hang on. Your liberal coworker every day for the next 4 years. Every day, next 4 years.
There's no point in saying good morning because it certainly is not one.
Disagree. It's maybe the best mornings we've had. Okay, maybe I did share this one already. DOGE dividend to taxpayers. Oh no, there's some more stuff here. Am I sharing this in the right aspect ratio? Yes. Robin, yeah, there you go. You are so correct, Brian. Anything less is just a joke. Look, if you can't bring in the biggest, baddest smelting material ever used, Elon just told me a joke. He said, Elon, tell him that joke. Yes, boss. I did say that he who smelt it, dealt it. He who smelt it, dealt it. Thank you, boss. Elon. He who smelt it, dealt it. But it only works with the voices. Maybe I'll use that next week. Kenneth saying that's why I only now take the back roads. It's good to have a backup plan. There's a bridge that I cross, and I wonder what's the backup plan there. Like, what do I have that figured out? Robin, though, saying you're so correct, Brian. Anything less is just a joke. And why can't you bring in the best smelting equipment on earth and you just go through? It'll be tedious. They said, sir, that'll take a lot of time. But that's okay. Good things do sometimes take a little longer than you thought. A lot of people thought I won 2020 in a landslide, but Sleepy Joe stole it from me, and now I'm back. It took a little extra time, but now I'm back, and that took extra. Yeah, it is rough on my throat. I think that's what happens. I got to be careful doing too much of it. Sipping the end of my coffee here. President Trump and Elon Musk should announce a Doge dividend check. Yes, we know. Oh, yeah. Louis DeJoy, head of the United States Postal Service, is stepping down. We covered that yesterday. The Senate has vote to advance the confirmation of Kash Patel as FBI director. As soon as cloture is up, we're going to get that vote. I think it's tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. Sooner the better. Sooner the better. Four years ago, we would have never guessed where we are now. Wild times, my friend. What's done in the dark will come to the light. Nancy Mace. And it's showing Kennedy. What is that showing? Declassify. Is that a UFO? This one is Bobby Kennedy being killed. It's time. All these demons. We got to put them on blast and get our country back. President Trump has signed a presidential memorandum requiring governmental transparency on waste, fraud, and abuse. Katie Hobbs, Arizona governor, air quote governor, just vetoed HB 2703 aimed at making election results faster and safer. God forbid a Democrat would want a safe and efficient election process. Yes. Yeah. Audit Katie Hobbs. She doesn't belong there. 60 Minutes claimed Kristen Dry was fired this month in the chaotic shutdown of U.S. aid. What they didn't tell you, Christina was a U.S. aid employee. She worked for XLA and Jefferson Partners, providing speechwriting services for U.S. aid administrator Samantha Power, who resigned. Another day, another half-truth on primetime. Source Jefferson Consulting Group. And I'm not trying to be mean, but I am just asking the question. Is this Christina Dry a biological woman, or is this a man dressing as a woman? This person strikes me as having very male characteristics. I'm just wondering. Yeah, Christina Dry was Samantha Power's speechwriter. Samantha Power was the former head of U.S. aid. Samantha Powers stepped down when the investigations and audits began. 60 Minutes is a joke. They're fake journalism. You don't hate the mainstream media enough. I promise you that. They're not called mainstream media. They're called what? Lying legacy media. Lying legacy media, folks.
I knew that
Actually, I said it the other day about maybe this is the guy that I spoke with after my Adam Carolla interview. It might be this guy. This guy might have been the guy that was sitting behind me as I was packing up my camera equipment. I think he was going on next or second to next. Adam Carolla was doing a junket and setting up speaking engagements at Politicon in Los Angeles. It might have been this guy who stopped me. He's like, hey, that was a great interview. I really enjoyed listening to that, checking that out. That was fantastic. Like he had very kind words for me, and I appreciated hearing him. It really might have been this Dan Ball guy. Where's he with? Real America? What's he on? OAN. There we go.
I knew that President Trump would be a hell of a lot more savage this round, but I didn't know he'd be this savage towards a foreign leader. But he really wants to bring this war to an end.
And I think I have the power to end this war. And I think it's going very well. But today I heard, oh, well, we weren't invited. Well, you've been there for 3 years. You should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal.
Look, if Zelensky thinks they're going to join NATO, it ain't going to happen. Trump's already put the gauntlet down on that. But also, he's wanting to try and return to some of the border lines of pre-2014. And Pete, again, Hegseth said, no, that's unrealistic. Just get it out of your mind. Is that kind of why the Trump administration is excluding Zelensky from these initial talks to get things going, because they know he's going to be so hardline on, we want this or we're not ending the war? Maybe he doesn't realize that you need America and our checkbook to continue the war. If we wanted to, we could just pull out and say, hey, Russia, have at it, and Ukraine would be screwed.
For the Trump administration.
And by the way, that's sort of what you saw in Gaza. President Trump gave a noon deadline on Saturday to release every hostage, or else all hell will break loose. And you saw another attack, an Israeli attack following that, because they didn't give everybody up. No more playing around. Like these things have got to be resolved. These never-ending issues. You got to find a deal. It's called the art of the deal. Figure out what it takes to make it happen and make it happen. Yeah, Ukraine got in bed with the dirty deep state Democrats. Never trust a Democrat, ever. You can trust that they'll be obfuscating. You can trust that they'll be lying to you, that they'll be trying to rob you. Right in front of your face, they'll be trying to rob you and lying about it. They'll say it with a smile. They'll try to push some goofy race division, sex division, religious division. All they do is try to create in your mind a threat of division from the Republicans. You must side with us. We're your protector. No, they're not. They're the demons that are causing the problems. Reject the Democrats. That was the biggest problem Zelensky made. He got in bed with these people. That's a bed you do not want to be in.
And for Pentagon officials going overseas and speaking at a neutralized location like Saudi Arabia is very reminiscent of, dare I say, the Abraham Accords, because the same exact playbook happened back then with international relations, where Saudi Arabia was the one facilitating that peace accord. They didn't actually physically sign it, but just being that bartering tool, I think, is a very good indicator of us projecting their visit early next week as to having more information of exactly what agreements we would bring to the table.
I knew that
So there you have it.
I knew that President Trump.
Yeah, we knew Trump was going to come in aggressively.
Thank you very much.
Doggone it. We didn't know it was going to be quite this.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm trying to just get the beginning. He's saying thank you very much. Here's the post. Ready?
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, what's your secret weapon?
Cash.
Cash is coming tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, what's your secret weapon?
Cash.
I believe this was out of context, and that wasn't a real question. I think this was something about cash money, and this was something about the one of the fake indictments, Letitia James or Alvin Bragg, the lawfare, weaponizing the Justice Department to attack your political enemies, like Lula did to Bolsonaro. Things that are treasonous, that people need to be indicted and tossed into jail, or suffer the ultimate fate of treason for. I think it was Trump talking about having cash. But yeah, Kash Patel is on his way.
Thank you very much.
Mr. President, what's your secret weapon?
Cash.
Cash, baby. Cash. Cash money. They are creeps. The guy driving a blue car, of course. All right, we're going to do some lightning round stuff. Make sure you're following the New American Media on X. We are at American_media_. Let's, okay. Check out our documentary, Hurricane Helene, Help on the Way. It's pinned on our profile. Glenn Greenwald here says people in corporate media have zero knowledge of pre-2017 U.S. history. Do they not know the U.S. has long allied with, funded, and installed many of the planet's most repressive tyrants? Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Indonesia, etc. Obama partnered with Russia in Syria. Well, they were actually trying to start a proxy war with Russia in Syria with Hillary. Julia Loff says the fact of the matter is that America, as embodied by this administration, is no longer allies with our traditional allies. That is over. America's allies are now Putin, the AfD, Viktor Orban, and the other far-right fascist regimes. Greenwald is like, you have no clue. Elon chiming in, saying legacy media are mostly just puppets with massive influence by the state. The total amount of money DOGE is discovering going from government to fake independent media is shocking. Yeah, they're not media. They're propagandists. So this executive order went out. Executive order ensuring accountability for all agencies, according to A.K. Norian, says the Reader's Digest version is this. When past presidents have allowed their executive power to be diminished, and when Congress passes a law instructing the president on how he will operate the executive branch, that law is unconstitutional. A president cannot give away powers that a future president may want to use simply by not using them. Trump 47 will not be operated like an out-of-control frat house. If your agency is titled as an independent agency, it is because the president has not decided which department will be your new home. Regulations will now be reviewed and approved by the president. Outward-facing legal statements will come from the president, the AG, or their designated spokesperson. Another way to type that out and try to summarize it, and we're open to all interpretations on this. If you have corrections or additional context you'd like to provide, leave them in the comments. The New American Media said this should stop agencies like the EPA from using their interpretations of law to expand their power. The president and attorney general are controlling over all employee conduct. No employee may advance an interpretation of law if the president and attorney general have differing opinions. And that sounds great to us. Julie Kelly talking about this. Bloomberg is confirming that Associate Deputy AG Bradley Weinsheimer, considered Lisa Monaco's right-hand man, has been removed from his post. A 30-plus year veteran of the Department of Injustice, Weinsheimer was given the option of moving to a new immigration enforcement office or resign or be fired. Weinsheimer was involved in the Hunter Biden matter, running interference for the Bidens and going over the head of special counsel David Weiss. Julie Kelly says this is more good news from the Trump Department of Justice. According to a 2023 New York Post article, Weinsheimer was a conduit for Hunter Biden's legal team in the final stretch of the tax fraud investigation, proving that Main Justice, or at least Monaco and Weinsheimer, were really in charge and not Weiss. After lawyers for IRS whistleblowers who later testified to the political nature of the Department of Justice decision-making in the Biden investigation contacted Weinsheimer, the alleged nonpartisan DOJ official in charge of handling whistleblower complaints to ensure protection for those employees, Weinsheimer met with Weiss and Hunter Biden's attorney. One day later, according to lawyers from the IRS whistleblowers, Weinsheimer scheduled a meeting with Mr. Biden's defense counsel to appear over the head of Mr. Weiss in a way that was totally at odds with the narrative that David Weiss was acting independently. It's a little heady, it's a little in the weeds, but it's important. The Deputy Attorney General's office then claimed to us that it was genuinely interested in addressing the whistleblower's allegations without disclosing its meeting with Hunter Biden's lawyers. We now know that shortly after that meeting, Weiss's assistant, Leslie Wolf, offered to end the case with no guilty plea at all on the very same day that the Department of Justice removed our client and his entire IRS team from the case. Weinsheimer also wrote a 5-page letter to Congress restricting the testimony of Wolf, another Department of Justice official protecting the Bidens. On at least 79 occasions, Wolf cited Weinsheimer's letter as an excuse to refuse the answer Congress's questions as to her role on the investigations. Good riddance, Brad. So was he just reassigned? Actually, I'm going to ask that again. Was he just reassigned? Great question. Why would you reassign somebody that's up to no good? Just get rid of them. This is a conversation here. Here, let's get the beginning of this. Lindell TV, John Rosamando. This is important because we were sort of advised that we had to put CISA guidelines under duress at the bottom of our screen. We had to mention them as tickers because they would try to tell you that 2020 was the only free and fair election in the history of elections, that there was no fraud at all, and every other election is obviously rife with fraud. And they needed to provide countervailing opinions at CISA.gov/rumor control. I've said that 1,000 times, and I've hated saying it every time. I don't believe it. I don't believe CISA at all. But the lying legacy media, the social media gatekeepers pushing their fake propaganda, wanted you to say that. They wanted countervailing opinions. Absolute Truth with Emerald Robinson.
If you'll recall, yesterday we told you that the Trump administration has put CISA, the Cyber Infrastructure and Security Administration, or agency, a sub-agency of DHS, several of the employees on leave. Now, Kristi Noem's spokesperson gave a statement to the outlet called TechCrunch saying that the agency is undertaking an evaluation of how it has executed its election security mission with a particular focus on any work related to mis, dis, or malinformation. Now, she went on to say that while the agency conducts the assessment, personnel who worked on mis, dis, and malinformation, as well as foreign influence operations and disinformation, have been placed on administrative leave. But is that the right move? Well, we also told you about our former guest.
Anyway, check out that segment. It's a 6-minute clip, but it's an important issue. Emerald says, I told Trump's team for 4 years that CISA was one of the key places where America's elections are stolen. About 130 employees at CISA were just fired. Finally, this is the way. New York Post here saying the Department of Homeland Security has moved to fire 12 CISA employees who policed misinformation and pause all election security activities. They've been full of it. Leaf Blogazine here says top DOJ official Bradley Weissenheimer, who ran interference for the Bidens in the Hunter Biden case, has been removed from his post. Right here, it's time for many people to be arrested suddenly. Make sure you're following us at American_media_. Like some of our stuff, share some of our stuff, comment on some of our stuff to help boost in the algorithm so that they understand more people should be seeing the New American Media on X. Polemic Gold here is saying that Kash Patel will become Trump's 20th successful confirmation Thursday night. So that should be tonight for FBI director. It will be a white knuckler, but to MAGA, Kash is already a hero and a sure winner. America needs him to detonate the rotten old FBI and start anew under the rule of law. On his resume, Kash is already responsible for revealing Hillary and her fellow demons created the Steele dossier. Through Perkins Coie. It was all a coup attempt. Kash is responsible for following the money, proving Hillary paid for the dossier. He uncovered Crossfire Hurricane. He uncovered FISA abuse by the FBI against Carter Page through Obama and Hillary. Helped draft the Nunez memo. He testified that Trump ordered 10,000 National Guard before January 6th, but that was refused by Pelosi and Mayor Bowser. Democrats fear Kash like no other. With good reason. He'll probably put some of them in jail. There is no statute of limitations for treason. Doge gets it. Here you go. Look, son. The people who want to castrate kids think Trump and Elon are going too far. Seriously. Babylon B. This is cruel. Elon Musk cuts off Social Security benefits for thousands of Revolutionary War veterans. The guy is completely heartless. Yeah, you can find some great satire on the New American Media X post. This is Project Veritas. I don't like showing Project Veritas stuff. I like the other stuff. I like the O'Keefe Media Group. I don't like what they did to him. But Kyle Becker sharing this. The quote is, "We just hide it." So according to this video, an official has revealed that the Department of Education is running a rogue sanctuary program for illegal aliens and is hiding information from DOGE. Quote, if Congress actually knew that we don't have citizenship requirements, there would be a lot of uproar. Yeah, you're damn right there would be. So check out this video, 7-minute. Alex showing this here. You can check out the full clip by clicking. Whoopi Goldberg and other witches on The View are telling massive lies about Elon Musk's SpaceX, saying that, quote, everything he sends up falls back down and breaks up. And that couldn't be further from the truth. That's insanity. Yeah, some things do. Most of them don't. The demonization efforts are just mind-blowing. And it's the same cast of characters up to the same dirty tricks against the same people. Oh, did they take the video down? Hang on, is the video here? Oh, the post has been deleted. All right. So Riley Gaines posted that any mother putting her 14-month baby on puberty blockers is a disgusting opportunist who deserves to be in prison for child abuse. Okay. The context of this video that has been deleted is that the person in the video makes satire and comedy videos. Some users appear to have been confused and took the joke as a fact. I was going to show you it so you could know that if you see that video, that one is a fact. But we replied, it's become almost impossible to separate satire from the reality of the radical left. And that's true. We touched on this yesterday, and LA Mayor Karen Bass is blaming her team for failing to warn her about the fire risk before leaving the country. Of course, the warnings were on the nightly news in the newspapers a week before the fires. Presumably, she doesn't follow the local news. She needs to be recalled immediately. This is the perfect example of a worthless politician if you've ever seen one. This is trending. He's taking off these Velcro patches of America. In an act of protest, Ukrainian soldiers are now tearing American flags off their helmets to protest Donald Trump. Well, it was Biden that got you into this conflict. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if that pays off for him. Don't think it will. This is President Trump talking about the Fort Knox audits.
On DOGE, do you know what they're looking at specifically at the Department of Defense right now?
They're looking at everything.
And are they going to cut more national
We're
security
going to go into
positions?
Fort Knox to make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to
You know
cut
that
more?
we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that?
Do you know about that?
That was a bad bump.
That was a bad bump.
Make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to
You know
cut
that
more?
we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that?
Sir,
That was a bad bump.
I love it. That was a bad bump. Turbulence. He did almost eat shit there.
To make sure the gold is there.
Are they going to
You know
cut
that
more?
we're going to go into Fort Knox. Do you know about that?
Sir,
That was a bad bump.
are they going to eliminate more national security positions, civilians there?
We'll
at
see what
DOD?
happens. But one of the things we do want to look, I mean, we hope everything's fine with Fort Knox, but we're going to go to Fort Knox, the fabled Fort Knox, to make sure the gold is there.
Where would the president you haven't brought up?
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset.
If the gold isn't there, we're going to be very upset. See, I feel like that's the version of Trump that I emulate the most. That version of Trump. All right. Do you know about Metabiota? Let's have a listen.
Did you say the CIA has a venture capital wing?
Yes, firmly. It's out in the open. It's called InQtel. They're most famous.
I mean, those words are weird together. I don't know why.
InQtel.
Just like venture cap, like sort of government CIA is got a venture capital, like to invest in us or invest in the work that we're doing.
Well, to invest in companies which have, I guess, strategic potential for the United States. Their most famous investment is Google. So InQtel invested in Google Maps and Google.
Oh, Google. I can't stand Google YouTube. Google ruined YouTube.
Google Earth and made that possible.
Wow.
And that's what everyone can relate to.
Okay.
So InQtel is actually responsible for a number of significant investments into U.S. technology, which has dual purpose or dual application.
Right.
And they don't always disclose their investments. If you go to their website and look this up, they have a disclosed portfolio and an undisclosed portfolio. One of the more interesting public disclosures is Metabiota. So Metabiota is the company that had the contracts with the Defense Threat Reduction Agency for the labs in Ukraine.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that Metabiota.
Okay, so follow what's going on in Ukraine with the bioweapons labs with Metabiota. The company that had the contracts for the labs in Ukraine. Metabiota is the company that was invested into by Rosemont Seneca, which was Hunter Biden's venture capital firm. This is all an orgy of money laundering. And where did COVID come from, by the way?
It is the company that was invested into by Rosemont Seneca, which was Hunter Biden's venture capital firm.
Okay.
So, and it actually provided you in the show with emails which actually outlined the strategic conversation with Hunter Biden and Metabiota partners and Rosemont Seneca to get the investment for InQtel for the same kind of work we were doing at EcoHealth Alliance.
Wow.
Yeah.
We got a couple of these Hunter Biden emails. What?
EcoHealth Alliance. Anyway, dig into that. Liz Churchill reporting on it there. This is, well, more about the Ukrainian, what's going on in Ukraine and why it's so important. What is happening? Horrific child trafficking allegations, money laundering allegations, and bioweapons labs allegations. Here you go. Let's take a listen.
What we're seeing in
This is General Flynn.
In Ukraine is we're seeing a country that is, and everybody knows this now, there's no more hiding this. You know, so why is Ukraine so important? Well, it's a hub for human trafficking. It's a hub for specifically for child trafficking. It's a hub for narcotics trafficking. It's a hub for weapons trafficking. We know about our biolabs because Victoria Nuland said we had them there. I mean, we've always known that, but you know, that's stated now publicly. And there's a lot of money just flowing into this this country. And you say to yourself, where is this money going? And
is it money laundering? Is it money laundering?
I mean, money laundering, you name it. You know, just this week, and it may not have come up on your screen, but I know you pay attention a lot. I mean, there's a couple of people. I think one of them is like somebody in the Ministry of Defense there, and it might be the Minister of Defense, or maybe somebody in his orbit. They're buying these gigantic homes for, you know, millions and millions of dollars, and you say to yourself, how is this the case?
Yeah, where did all that money come from? Tim Poole saying, what the ever-loving F is going on here? All of these searches are spiking in D.C. at the start of the month. Suicide, fraud, layoff, criminal lawyer. Yeah. J.D. Vance. Oh, this is a lot to read here. It's about Western allies and peace and Russians in Ukraine. I'll let you read all that. This is just a post. Remember this guy who was fired from Space Force when he criticized DEI? President Trump promised to hire him. And according to this post from Carter Hughes, Trump has hired him as the Undersecretary of the Air Force. That's wild. And is the Trump administration looking to do something with our IRS system? According to this guest, yes. Commerce Secretary Lutnick just made a confirmation to Jesse Waters.
And I'm telling you, you watch it, we're going to do it. If you get savings from these DOGE cuts, are you going to give any of this back to the American people? We keep hearing about these DOGE dividends.
Well, think about it. Don announces the External Revenue Service, and his goal is very simple. His goal is to abolish the Internal Revenue Service and let all the outsiders pay. I mean, this is someone who is focused on America. Let's drive down our waste, fraud, and abuse. I'll give you an example. Cruise ships. You ever see a cruise ship with an American flag on the back? They have flags of like Liberia or Panama. None of them pay taxes. None of them pay taxes. Every super tanker, none pays taxes. Alcohol, all foreign alcohol, no taxes. This is going to end under Donald Trump, and those taxes are going to be paid, and Americans' tax rates are going to come down. That's what Donald Trump wants to do. Balance our budget and cut our taxes. I mean, imagine a Democratic senator going against that. What planet are these people?
Seriously, what planet are the people on that they want to pay more in taxes? That's Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick. That sounds pretty good. Imagine being out at some derpy protest, holding a sign, being against stopping this.
And the record topper, there is
all the fraud that they've uncovered with Social Security. How about this one?
One person on Social Security who's 360 years old, which is approximately 110 years older than our country. And the record.
Imagine not catching that in previous audits. Imagine the balls to hand over Social Security Administration to the following organization. You know, you're just a steward. You're a temporary steward. You hand the agency over. That's just proving how inept the last administration was at putting things together, or how talented they were at gaming the system to put fraud and abuse in. Cat Turd says, in my lifetime, I've never seen anything expose the good guys from the bad guys more clearly than politicians who are reacting to DOGE. Here's what it looks like when you tweeted about naming a government agent's efficiency department DOGE is a joke, and then 6 months later it's dismantling the U.S. government. We replied, we are seeing the most necessary American audits of all time. Oh, that's misspelled. Can I still edit that? Can't edit. Oh, well. We also need to audit our presidential eligibility process and our presidential vote tabulation process as well. We need better systems. This is the throwback here. Libs of TikTok. Zelensky, he claims that Ukraine only received $75 billion of the $177 billion in aid that was sent from the United States. Where'd the money go? Who's lying? We need a full audit of Ukraine. Liz Churchill, Dr. Fauci and Obama knew that the COVID vaccine, air quote, was a biological weapon, according to Liz Churchill, and are seen below recommending that children be vaccinated because they're safe and effective. Prosecute them both now. Yeah. And never forget, never forgive. Zelensky murdered Gonzalo Lira, an American journalist who was reporting on the truth about Ukraine. He was killed in prison after being tortured and denied representation. Gonzalo was a good friend of Ian Miles Chung. Don't forget. You want to know how George Soros controlled the Biden White House? Insurrection Barbie put a thread out. And we just asked who elected Soros as the puppet master while Obama and his cronies governed from the shadows or from the basement. And Wokeness here said you did not see this plane accident chart on TV because it didn't fit the narrative. NTSB is kind of charting accidents by calendar year and month. January 2025 has the lowest number since as far back as this chart goes, 62. The previous low was 70. And in February, we're 20 days into February, only 26. The previous low would be 72. But the Democrats just got to jump on everything and try to turn every molehill into a mountain. These people are the kings and queens of the sky is falling, Chicken Little. Here's a reminder about the birth certificate verification process. This is on Fox 10 a while ago, but remember this controversy? Can DOGE audit the presidential vetting process? Because when we started calling around, nobody audits. Nobody guarantees and confirms that they've met the eligibility requirements. I made 60 phone calls. I have a chart on one of my other computers. Maybe I'll pull that out one day. I called everybody to debunk this. I'm like, this can't be true. Nobody could confirm it. The closest we got was that somebody confirmed that they personally saw a certificate of birth. I mean, not certificate, what is the terminology? Certificate of live birth? I think it was, I got to remember the terminology, the vernacular. But it wasn't a birth certificate like this human being was born in this hospital at this date on this time, on this date at this time. I think a certificate of live birth differs where it just says, we are going to verify that this human is existing here at this date. And that's a big difference. And they couldn't produce the form. And the form that was produced was allegedly photoshopped with multiple layers on top of it. Can we uncover and debunk anything on that? Let's audit that. So yeah, Matt Van Swole just asking, can anyone explain to me how we gave Ukraine $175 billion while my neighbors in Western North Carolina were living in tents and the Democrats don't want to know where any of it went? Make it make sense. This guy here, Minnesota Republican State Representative Steve Drazkowski, has the receipts, affidavits, eviction notices, and documents. So he's demanding the arrest of Ilhan Omar for the crimes of federal tax fraud, federal immigration fraud, federal student loan fraud, state violations of perjury, bigamy, incest, kickbacks, and acts of campaign fraud abuse from the East Coast to the Mississippi River, Boston, Washington, New York, Chicago, and Florida. She, Ilhan Omar, was found guilty of the violations by the Minnesota Campaign Finance Board in order to return those funds. Miss Ilhan Omar appears to be a serious career criminal. How about that?
The overall
clip here, we're almost done. Clip from Elon talking about the budget and spending and USAID and Doge and all this stuff. Charlie Kirk is saying Elon Musk says Doge aims to cut, blah, blah, blah. Congress will have to do the rest. We must return to a balanced budget and fiscal sanity.
Well, the overall goal is to try to get $1 trillion out of the deficit. And if the deficit is not brought under control, America will go bankrupt. This is a very important thing for people to understand.
Yeah.
A country is no different from an individual in that if an individual overspends, an individual can go bankrupt, and so can a country. And the massive waste, fraud, and abuse that has been going on, which is leading to a $2 trillion a year deficit. That's what the president was handed on Jan 20th, a $2 trillion deficit. It's insane.
For this fiscal year.
Yeah, we inherited. Yeah. And inflation is back. I'm only here for 2.5 weeks.
That was January.
Inflation is back. No, think of it. Inflation's back. And they said, oh, Trump, inflation. I had nothing to do with it. These people have run the country. They spent money like nobody's ever spent.
Yeah. Well, there's only so much you can fix in this amount of time, but I've never seen anybody try this much, and I'm appreciative of that. Thomas Paine said, government is best, which governs least. That sounds pretty good. So there are federal efforts to end congestion pricing, charging people to be stuck on the roads in New York. What a weird flex this is.
At 1:01 p.m. today, the U.S. Department of Transportation emailed us a letter from Secretary Duffy announcing their attempt to end the congestion pricing program in the state of New York.
Yeah, you shouldn't be charged because you're trying to drive at congested times. That's nuts. You need to find better ways to navigate that amount of people. Figure it out. Sync the lights up better. Find ways to use AI and figure out where the cars are driving and how to open those lanes. I mean, entire cities have been able to completely redesign their traffic patterns by blocking the side streets and letting massive swaths of people just go through to alleviate some of these stressors. But you kind of do need some smart systems to do that. She says, oh, you're already stuck in traffic? Give me more money. It's a terrible policy idea. Trump said, nope, we're not doing that anymore. And so Hochul's like, oh, there's an 80-20 issue. Nobody wants this. Great. Trump said it, so I must instantly oppose it. That's a bold strategy, Cotton. Luke Radowski says that's a brilliant move by Trump. Nobody wants to pay for the privilege of driving. Your backward city policies are not something the public is going to support. Trump was right again, but listen to her talk and, oh, she's got a winning issue because Trump said something. I'm going to be against it. It's not how it works, Kathy.
1 p.m. today, the U.S. Department of Transportation emailed us a letter from Secretary Duffy announcing their attempt to end the congestion pricing program in the state of New York. At 1:58 p.m., President Donald Trump tweeted, "Long live the king." I'm here to say New York hasn't labored under a king in over 250 years. And we sure as hell are not going to start now.
Woo! I want to pay money to sit in traffic. What a bunch of dorks.
The streets of this city where battles were fought, we stood up to a king, and we won then. And we will. In case you don't know, New Yorkers, we're in a fight. We do not back down. Not now, not ever.
A fight to charge you to sit in traffic, you dope. Yeah, Trump's a New Yorker too, so don't pull that one. All right, I'll end on this one. I found it. Let me work my way over to it. The most necessary course correction in American history. DOGE is saying that the Department of Education has terminated 18 grants for $226 million for comprehensive centers which provided consulting services with a large focus on DEI. One center application stated, embedding DEI reviews across all deliverables and materials ensures that it is not a one-off task-specific activity. A 2019 study, which itself cost $8 million, was not able to measure the causal impact of the center's work. Examples of DEI content from a center.
Asking if staff members could move away from the binary and not just say things like, you know, let's split into two teams, girls versus boys. Why not instead use non-heteronormative language like, hey, party people, let's get ready to do this activity. Everyone, humans, y'all, friends, family, however you want to do it.
And the intersections of that in terms of my gender, my race, and my sexual orientation as a young person developing in my sexuality. There was a lot of intentionality, I think, in certain spaces in my professional career where we thought about sexuality as a developmental reality. And as a language arts teacher and reading literature, what type
as a language arts teacher, you're just dumping words on the table. Like, what are you even getting at?
of preparation am I preparing myself for?
What type of preparation are you preparing? What preparation are you preparing? This person is what, in English?
This is in my professional career where we thought about sexuality as a developmental reality. And as a language arts teacher and
you're a language arts teacher, and the best you can come up with is
reading literature, what type of preparation am I preparing myself for?
What type of preparation am I preparing myself for? Sounds like out of the Kamala Harris school. What preparation am I preparing?
To be responsive to where my students are at development.
Maybe don't worry about sexual development and focus on, you're not preparing to prepare
mentally, as well as in terms of their growing identities. And if pushback arrives, and that's probably within the equity context, an indication.
Within an equity context, an indication. She's just dumping word salad onto the table using these key phrases. Equity is not. Equity is probably the worst part of diversity, equity, inclusion. Equal outcomes, regardless of skill level. No, it needs to be merit-based, not equity-based. Everybody gets a turn. No. I should not fly the plane. I have not taken the necessary courses. I don't get to fly the plane. I don't know what I'm doing. Yep, but equity says you need to fly it. That's a disaster.
That you're moving towards shifting practices and policies that are undoing the
I love all the smiling head nods.
Status quo.
Yeah, the most necessary course correction in American history. FEMA shows 1,000 families in Buncombe County, North Carolina, moved from motels and into fully furnished apartments since President Trump took office. Why didn't Joe Biden do this? Why didn't he do this? All right, I'll end on this humorous piece, and we'll call it a day. You know what they used to call it? Yeah, I'm gonna do this. No. Hold on, Alan. What's up? Kash has been confirmed by Senate. This is a deal. Hold on a second. Hold on. Beep, 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 beep. They said drink your beep, 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 beep. They said drink your Ovaltine. Drink your Ovaltine. It's a lousy commercial. Question of the day. What's that from? Bonus question or bonus context. I've referenced this once already on today's show. All right, let me go to X. Oh, I got to go to a different X because I'm going to keep that one up. Let's see what's breaking with Kash. Anything with Kash? Hunter Eagleman is saying Kash is confirmed. Here, let me share this tab instead. That's a great visual for someone named Eagleman. Rapid Response 47 is reporting this. Kash Patel is the 9th director of the Federal Bureau of Investigation. And there's shocking body cam footage of a violent FBI raid on a family with young kids at home. Okay. Nick Sortor has reported it. Alan reported it to me. See, this is a back and forth game of tennis, people. This is an ongoing conversation. You, the viewer, are a part of the show. You're a part of the TNAM AM show. You're a part of the Agree to Disagree show. You're a part of the New American Media. You are citizen journalists. We are all in this together. Kash Patel has been confirmed as the FBI director by the U.S. Senate. The deep state is cooked. Congrats. Carissa saying, I want answers on these people. Let's expose all of their corruption. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Oh, is this in? There you go. Here's someone reacting to Kash, getting confirmed.
Director, we'll keep watching this and bringing news from the Senate floor as we get it. Meanwhile, a lot of talk about a promising director.
Let's go. Oh, is that John Rich? Is this the music Kash Patel came out to? Sleep with one eye open? No, that had to be added after. I can't even play it. Sleep with one eye open, deep state. Oh my God, it's happening. Oh, it is so happening. Oh, this is great news. Thank you for that update. Oh, let's go. Avengers team assembled. This is Kick-Ash. Kick Cash. Epstein list on the way. You would lead us wrong. No, you wouldn't, Alan. Yeah, maybe you would. No, it wasn't from The Simpsons. Drink your Ovaltine. It's a lousy commercial. It's from Christmas Story. It's when he has his little orphan Annie magic decoder ring. It's a lousy commercial. And it's got one of the best cut scenes of all time. He lifts the seat to the toilet. Or he closes the seat to the toilet. It's a jump cut to lifting the lid off of a pot of bubbling chili. It's almost like if you're lifting the lid of a toilet seat and then you see the ball of the whole pot of chili. Great jump cut right there. Oh my, oh my. All right, Kash was confirmed, 51-49. Why would you be voting against Kash Patel? Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Finally. Can we get to work now? Can we finally get to work? Cash and carry, baby. Their ass is cash. All right, this is the final piece here. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Hit like, hit subscribe, however you are linked up with us right now. We're on Facebook, Instagram, Truth Social, Rumble, and YouTube under The New American Media. Our podcast is on Spotify and Apple under The Agree to Disagree Show. Subscribe to those, please. Oh, I got to switch back to this X feed. On X, we are at American_media_ follow us. And if anybody would like to contribute to our operations, we are 100% crowdfunded, independent journalism. We're on Cash App, $Brian Engelman, Venmo at Brian Engelman, BrianEngelman. PayPal at Fuzz Installment, FUZZINSTALLMENT, and Patreon.com/The New American Media. Okay, follow us in all those places, please. And if anyone wants to contribute, we appreciate all of that always. All right. Yes, BoobTube. We are on BoobTube. It's The New American Media on YouTube. We're going to play you out with this. Jon Stewart used to call it his moment of Zen. I'll leave you on a humorous note. And I will sign off early, and I'll play you out with this clip. I appreciate you. I love you. And we'll talk to you again soon. Here we go. I love it. Senator Kennedy, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. Here we go.
Goat's milk latte.
latte drinking, avocado toast eating. Life is hard, but it's harder when you're stupid. Can I take cocaine with my spouse?
No, sir. No, sir.
I did not call Senator Sanders an ignorant slut. I'm not talking about buying it, but let's suppose I came in one day and the cocaine was there. People who are bilingual, they speak English and stupid. I don't know why we have to give money to countries that hate us. They should be able to hate us for free. Looks like we're giving Lindsay Lohan the keys to the minibar. President Biden is sort of like Kevin Bacon at the end of Animal House, the cantina bar scene out of Star Wars. They wanted it like Ben wants J-Lo. Frankly, I can't, because I can't get my head that far up my rear end. Stick it up their fact checker. They can kiss my ass. Somebody at the White House has been smoking the devil's lettuce, okay? We cannot run the greatest economy by putting fairy dust and unicorn urine in our cars. Urinate to get off the pot. My car doesn't run off fairy dust. My car doesn't run off unicorn urine. Or next time you get in trouble, call a crackhead, call a criminal, call a meth head. It must suck to be that dumb. I don't mean disrespect, but the mayor needs to take her meds. Christmas ornaments, drywall, and Jerry Epstein. Name 3 things that don't hang themselves.
All right. God, that was awesome. That was great. Everybody, thank you again.